Hey everyone, Tommy Khan here with your Fox 10 News Now update. Happy Monday morning, just a few days away from Christmas. Good luck to all of you guys who are doing that last minute shopping. Maybe you should have thought about Christmas a little while ago, but I'm not judging. It's okay to be a procrastinator. Hope you guys are having a great day. We have a lot of news ahead. Unfortunately, I have to start with some tragic news. This top bullet point right here. We are learning now that the person that was killed yesterday in that crash on the Las Vegas Strip was from right here in the valley, from Buckeye, Arizona. Now, if you haven't heard this story, it was really trending all of last night and early this morning. Apparently, police saying this crash was intentional. A woman plowing into a crowd of people on the Las Vegas Strip yesterday evening and during the 6 o'clock hour. One person killed, more than 30 people injured, 6 of whom critically. I have a story that I can play for you guys right now from Fox National, and then I'll give you details on the local woman who was identified in the crash as the one who was killed in that crash. So give me a second while I go ahead and play this story for you from Fox National. And I'll be back with you guys in just a minute.
It's being called a tragedy on the Strip, a car mowing down pedestrians on a crowded sidewalk. Police in Las Vegas are now saying they don't believe it was terrorism, but they also don't think it was an accident.
We're looking at it as possibly being intentional.
It happened early on Sunday evening across from the Bellagio.
I saw the car up on the sidewalk coming towards us, and there was a lady in it, an African-American lady, and it looked like she wasn't even trying to stop the car. She had both of her hands on the wheel and was looking straight forward, and there were men running after her trying to stop the vehicle, and they couldn't get to her. They were yelling, "Stop, stop."
Witnesses say the car had a child in the back seat when it drove up on the sidewalk and just started slamming into people in front of Planet Hollywood.
People are like bouncing off the front of the car, and you can hear it. The windshield was smashed at this point. She rode the sidewalk. She came to a stop right here at the Paris intersection, and then people were punching the window trying to get apparently the child out of the back seat. And she accelerated again and just kept mowing everyone down. So from here to Flamingo, she wound up hitting, I would say, anywhere from 30 to 40 people.
The driver of the 1996 Oldsmobile is in custody. Police say they're checking her for drugs or alcohol.
She is in the detention center right now. She's speaking to detectives. They're drawing her blood, and she will be, I expect her to be charged within the next few hours.
Many of the victims of Sunday's crash are currently hospitalized. While there was carnage outside the vehicle, the child inside the car was not harmed. Kelly Wright, Fox News.
All right, guys, now these are aerials from the crash scene from last night. You can see the cones marking the area where the crash occurred, marking off evidence. We know that the Strip did reopen this morning around 5 a.m. Las Vegas time. So really just about 4 hours ago, the Strip reopening in Vegas. Obviously, Vegas very close to us here in Phoenix, just a 4-hour drive away. So many local people here. Obviously, very familiar with this intersection where this took place. And even if you aren't local, I'm assuming that many of you viewers out there have at least been to Vegas once in your life and know how busy the Strip can get. So obviously it is a scary thought when you think about it, because it was just 6 o'clock in the evening on a Sunday. It's a common time for people to be walking out and about, and you don't really think twice when you're walking on the sidewalk. You don't really question your safety in those situations. So obviously really unfortunate for all those involved, all those who have been injured, and obviously very sad for the family members of the woman who was killed. The woman has been identified as Jessica Valenzuela, 32 years old, from Buckeye, Arizona. We haven't gotten too many updates this morning. I'm hoping that we'll get a press conference later today. We do know, again, one person killed, more than 30 injured. I believe it is 36 or 37 injured. Let me get that number for you. "37 people injured, 6 of whom were critically injured." The woman, the driver herself, has not been identified. She has been described as a woman in her 20s, African American.
Everyone knows
According to police,
but
she
not
went
everyone
up and
knows
off of these
FOMO.
streets 2
Fear
or
of missing
possibly
out on the
3
home of your
times.
dreams.
She was
Get the
interviewed
real-time
yesterday,
accurate Realtor.com
and she
app
did have her
and
blood
no
drawn
more
for a
FOMO.
sobriety
Realtor.com. Real estate in real
test.
time.
So that is where we're at right now with this story. We do know that the vehicle involved in the crash was an older vehicle, a 1996 Oldsmobile sedan. Again, the incident has been described as intentional. However, authorities have ruled out terrorism. The driver is in custody. We are learning more details this morning. As of a few hours ago, police said the video of the car crashing suggests that it is very intentional. Looks like it's very intentional, are the exact quotes, saying the car was fully on the sidewalk twice, including once when it traveled for about 200 feet. Again, this is according to video that authorities have looked over. Now, according to authorities, the car first went onto the sidewalk near a restaurant at the Planet Hollywood Hotel Casino, and then again at the driveway entrance to the Paris Las Vegas Hotel Casino. In fact, I feel like I'm going to pull up a Google Maps view right now so we can get a better view from the ground, so you guys have an idea of what it looks like typically. Gonna pull this over and show you guys the street view from Paris, Las Vegas. Planet Hollywood just right over there. So first over here. This is Planet Hollywood. These are the shops at Planet Hollywood. This is where the Miss Universe pageant was taking place. Right here. And then right over here is the entrance at the Paris Las Vegas Hotel Casino. So again, on the sidewalk down here by Planet Hollywood, and then again up here near the Paris Hotel and Casino. Let's go back to those aerials now that we got in from our local affiliate out there in Las Vegas. We do know that 4 college students from Oregon were among those hurt. They attended Pacific University. The spokesman for the university said that the students were members of the wrestling team and were in Las Vegas to compete in a tournament. He says that 19 athletes and coaches were walking together Sunday night when the woman swerved onto the sidewalk. The spokesman says that 3 of the 4 injured students were taken to a hospital, 2 students were later released, and the other was kept overnight for observation. He added that the team will not be competing in the tournament scheduled today. Now, according to University Medical Center spokeswoman Danita Cohen, she is saying that 3 people at her hospital are in critical condition and that their life-threatening injuries are being closely monitored at that hospital. Again, the strip was closed for nearly 12 hours overnight as a result of this crash. We do have some sound bites, some reaction from witnesses, so let me just pull that up for you guys so you can hear for yourself.
Intentional with a woman, a 3-year-old child in the back of the Oldsmobile that she was in, out-of-state license plates, not registered to Nevada. About a week, according to Metro. The sidewalk sped up again.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, no problem.
Doers built this country, and all that doing takes energy.
ULIC 254. Yes. 449. 337. I saw the car up on the sidewalk coming towards us, and there was a lady in it, an African-American lady, and it looked like she wasn't even trying to stop the car. She had both of her hands on the wheel and was looking straight forward, and there were men running after her trying to stop the vehicle, and they couldn't get to her. They were yelling, "Stop, stop," and she just wasn't trying.
I came walking out of the Planet Hollywood Casino. I was walking down the steps here, and in the car, I was counting money, and the car rolled right in front of me. So by the time I looked over to the right, all you can see is driving away, and people are like bouncing off the front of the car, and you can hear it. The windshield was smashed at this point. She rode the sidewalk. She came to a stop right here at the Paris intersection, and then people were punching the window trying to get apparently the child out of the back seat, and she accelerated again and just kept mowing everyone down. So from here to Flamingo, she wound up hitting, I would say, anywhere from 30 to 40 people. She came to a halt, like a slowdown over by Flamingo, exited the sidewalk, and then got jammed in by traffic, and then she made it to the light at Flamingo and then took a right, and then she just disappeared. But the license plate had broke off from the plastic holder of the bumper from all the people she was hitting, and I guess the cops were able to track her down.
And we're going to show it to you. Here it is right here. I want to apologize.
The pain she won't be able to feel the pain that she gave to a lot of people. And I say I'm not the worst, because there's people down there who really had like big problems. And I saw some people couching. I'm wondering if they're good, how their life will be, just because of this.
Geographically, you know, it's interesting. So the president of Colombia.
Why? Just why us? Why did this happen? And what really happened? I mean, why did this girl run over the sidewalk and injured a lot of people? I mean, you can really know all the consequence this has until you live it.
And then you know, like, you're just having a bad, what a terrible
situation.
Then he takes to Twitter thinking, oh, I've just got to.
Just a couple of quick updates. The six people that were injured in this accident that are critical, we have gotten word that they are stable, so that's good news. Again, we want to pass our thoughts and prayers to the victim and all of the other victims that were injured during this accident. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families. What we do know right now, again, is we have determined that this is an intentional act. That means that our LVMPD Homicide Section will be handling the investigation. So I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Dan McGrath, who oversees that section, and he'll have more detailed information.
So what we have at this point is we have a black female in her 20s with a child in the car, 3 years old. She was driving a 1996 Oldsmobile four-door vehicle with Oregon plates. She went up off the street onto the sidewalk 2 or possibly 3 times. And based on the evidence and information from our fatal investigators, at this point we are treating this as an intentional act. She is in the detention center right now. She's speaking to detectives. They're drawing her blood, and she will be, I expect her to be charged within the next few hours. There is no relation to terrorism. There's not a terrorism investigation. This is a female in a vehicle who drove up onto the sidewalk. We don't know the exact reasons why she did it, but we're trying to determine that now. But based on her movements in the vehicle, it appears to be an intentional act.
Basically, earlier this evening, we had an individual that drove up onto the sidewalk. Unknown whether this is an intentional act or an impairment act. We have not been able to determine that. But as that individual drove, she continued driving northbound on the sidewalk and striking several pedestrians.
Can you tell us how many pedestrians?
Currently, right now, we have 1 fatality that has already been declared. We also have an additional 7 that are in critical condition. We also have 26 more that are injured. We also had 4 released currently that have been treated and released. So we have a total of 37, correct, sir?
That is correct.
And did the woman drive off after hitting those people?
From what we understand, yes, she did drive off. We were able to get her detained at Flamingo and Koval, and she's being interviewed as well as being tested for impairment there.
Captain Buffelli, can you talk to this not appear to be an act of terrorism or anything of that nature?
Currently, right now, we have not been able to ascertain exactly what has occurred. We definitely know that this accident we cannot determine whether it was an act of terrorism. We do not know whether it was intentional. So currently, right now, all the information and all the testing abilities that we're doing on this individual is to ensure that we're doing the proper investigation, whether it was an impairment or anything to that matter. But currently, right now, this has not been determined to be any act of terrorism.
Is she being tested for DUI and or drugs?
She is being tested for both. She's also being tested for alcohol as well as controlled substance.
Cap, what was she driving?
I don't know what the make and model of the vehicle is. I'm sorry, I don't have that.
A car, an SUV, a truck?
I don't know what type of vehicle it was. I know it was a vehicle, but I do not know what the make and model was.
Did the person die on scene?
From what I'm understanding, I do not know that right now, but it has been determined they have been deceased. Chief, do you have that info?
Well, from Clark County Fire Department's perspective, we received this call at 18:38, so 6:38 this evening. At 18:59, so just before 7 o'clock, we transported the first patient off this scene. We responded with over 70 individuals, and to get through 70 people, or for 70 people to triage that many patients in that amount of time and get patients off the scene is a pretty good indicator that we did a good job there. As far as there was CPR in progress on scene, that patient was transported to the hospital, and from what we've been told, that is the patient that is deceased. For a total of 37 patients, as Captain Buffelli said, 7 of which are critical, 1 of those is deceased, and 4 were treated and released.
What hospitals?
I'm not sure. The Valley Trauma Centers for this area would be Sunrise and UMC. I'm not sure how many patients went to each hospital, but I know they did not all go to one hospital.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to send out our thoughts and prayers to the victims and their families involved in this tragic event up here. I do want to clarify one thing right off the bat. Initial reports had come out that there was gunshots. That is not true. There was no gunshots up here. And second of all, we know that this was not an act of terrorism, and we've ruled that out. So those are 2 things we know. What we have so far is we had a vehicle drive up in front of the Paris up there and along towards Bally's, at which time it struck numerous pedestrians who were walking on the street. Our counts initially that we have, and these are cursory counts, we had 12 victims go to Sunrise Hospital. We had 11 victims go to UMC, and we had 3 victims go to Spring Valley Hospital. Our counts right now, and this is through the fire department numbers and our transport numbers, is we have 6 victims that are critical, and we've had 1 victim that has succumbed to their injuries. The 2 ways we're looking at this, and we're looking at our investigation twofold, is number 1, was this an intentional act, or number 2, was this an accident? Due to the area we're in with numerous cameras belonging to the hotel, surveillance cameras, and our regional, our RTC cameras, we will comb through that footage to get a detailed idea of what occurred. Right now, from what we know, we're looking at it as possibly being intentional. We just received that information. So that is just the initial word we've gotten, the way we're looking, but we're going to look at all angles. Our fatal detail and our homicide detail are working together like they do on numerous investigations to make sure this is done right and we leave no stone unturned.
Was indeed a 32-year-old woman from right Since we don't have any additional updates, I am going to move on to our next story. Obviously, if we get any new information, I'll let you guys know here on News Now. And if we get any press conferences, then we will play that for you live right here on Fox 10 News Now. Moving on to bullet point number 2, it appears that Lindsey Graham has dropped out of the GOP presidential race. This is kind of surprising because one of the questions I had asked some of our political experts, in other words, Ron Hoon and Steve Kraft, is whether or not any of the other GOP candidates would be dropping out before the end of the year. No one really said anything. No one expected anyone to drop out. But today on his website, Lindsey Graham made his announcement in a YouTube video. I'm going to go ahead and play that video for you guys now so you can hear it from Lindsey Graham himself. Stand by. Oh, it doesn't have that many views on his YouTube channel yet. Only 948. But if you guys want to see it for yourself, you can always go to Senator Lindsey Graham's YouTube channel. It's also posted on his site. Let's watch.
Today, I'm suspending my campaign for president. I want to thank everyone who's taken this journey with me. Today, I'm suspending my campaign for president. I want to thank everyone who's taken this journey with me. You have honored me with your support. I believe we've run a campaign you can be proud of. We put forward bold and practical solutions to big problems, like retiring our debt and fixing a broken immigration system. This has been a problem solvers campaign. However, the centerpiece of my campaign has been securing our nation. I got into this race to put forward a plan to win a war we cannot afford to lose and to turn back the tide of isolationism that was rising in our party. I believe we made enormous progress in this effort. 4 months ago, at the very first debate, I said that any candidate who did not understand that we need more American troops on the ground in Iraq and Syria to defeat ISIL was not ready to be commander-in-chief. At that time, no one stepped forward to join me. Today, most of my fellow candidates have come to recognize this is what's needed to secure our homeland. I'm far more confident today that our party will reject the Obama doctrine of leading from behind and will provide the strong leadership America needs to restore our military and take the fight to our enemies and do what it takes to make our country safe and preserve our way of life. This is a generational struggle that demands a strategy and the will to win. I will continue to work every day to ensure that our party and our nation takes on this fight. I'm suspending my campaign, but never my commitment to achieving security through strength for the American people. God bless our fighting men and women, and God bless America.
Again, that was Lindsey Graham in a YouTube video announcing that he was dropping out of the race. This is file video of Lindsey Graham sent to us from Fox National. I want to go ahead and read to you Senator McCain's comment on Lindsey Graham suspending his campaign. You may or may not know Senator Lindsey Graham and John McCain, very good friends. John McCain even appearing at some of Lindsey Graham's campaign events earlier this year. Now, this is the statement released today by Senator John McCain. With Senator Lindsey Graham's announcement, Republicans lost our most qualified, thoughtful, fearless, and honest presidential candidate, not to mention the candidate with the best, and it seems sometimes the only, sense of humor. Despite the disadvantages he faced in resources and debate opportunities, Lindsey's message of serious statesmanship and problem-solving in public affairs, his forthright opposition to policies and attitudes that would endanger our country and reflect poorly on our party, and his genuine decency and humility won him many new admirers. As sorry as I am to see Lindsey's candidacy end, I understand his reasons, and I'm as proud of him as I've ever been for his exemplary service to our party and our country. Lindsey's friends and supporters take consolation in the assurance his voice will continue to be prominent in the U.S. Senate, where his message of inclusiveness, optimism, and forward-looking leadership will serve as a needed rebuttal to those who advocate a narrower and pessimistic vision for our party. It is a pity that a bifurcated debate structure kept his voice and views from the wider public that needed to hear them. Even so, as the candidate with the most national security experience and, in my opinion, the most practical and honorable views of American world leadership, Lindsey stood up to and helped stem the rise within our party of isolationism and obliviousness in world affairs and indifference to human suffering. It was my privilege to support Lindsey and campaign with him, a privilege exceeded only by the privilege of his friendship. Thank you, my friend, for all you have done for the country you love and serve so well. Again, that was Senator McCain's statement on Lindsey Graham's announcement that he is dropping out of the GOP race, suspending his campaign, is how it is typically described. All right, guys. Now, before I move to any of these other bullet points, one of the big topics from over the weekend, and we touched upon it last week as well, was the missing Affluenza teen. Now, we have a story from Fox National, plus a press conference that just wrapped up from authorities giving us an update on the search for Ethan Couch. So let's go ahead and watch this story. Then I'll play that press conference for you so you have a full update on the the search for the Affluenza teen. Stand by. Oops.
The U.S. Marshal Service releasing this wanted poster as U.S. Marshals, the FBI, and Texas law enforcement are all now working together, hunting for 18-year-old Ethan Couch and his mother, Tanya. Law enforcement officials say numerous tips are being reported, but investigators say they think the pair may have left the country. All after Ethan was suspected of violating a probation deal that kept him out of prison in a deadly drunk driving case in which he killed 4 people in a crash.
I mean, here he killed 4 innocent people, shattered the lives of 4 families, never showed 1 ounce of remorse.
The case made global headlines as Couch's attorneys used Affluenza as Ethan's defense, arguing he was from a wealthy family and never learned right from wrong.
We thought that it was almost laughable. I fully expected him to be put in a juvenile facility and probably transferred to an adult prison when he was of age.
Police say Couch's recent disappearance comes after an online video allegedly shows him at a party where alcohol was served. Prosecutors are now investigating whether Couch was drinking, something Ethan was prohibited from doing per his probation terms.
I believe once that video came out, he felt like that the other shoe was getting ready to drop.
The local sheriff in Tarrant County, Texas, says the pair could have a 2-week jump on investigators. The mother and son had recently been living in this now vacant rental home in the area. In New York, Pam Puso, Fox News.
He's a proud hotel owner, but Jim is frustrated because his beautiful room is not being booked.
And yes, one particular case is grabbing headlines, but I can tell you we'll have an opportunity to talk about that particular case at the end of this, but no refusal is what we're here about today. Last year in Tarrant County, there were 1,624 DWI-related crashes in Tarrant County. That is 4 crashes every single day. People are mad about the case that's been in the headlines, but they should be mad about all DWI crashes because it's preventable and it puts every citizen in our county at risk. The purpose of our joint law enforcement effort on no refusal, and remember in Tarrant County we have 43 different law enforcement agencies, and everyone is joining together to address no refusal DWI starting now and going through New Year's. Why would we do that? Number one, it deters offenders. That's the point of putting the word out that we're doing this, because we would much rather than filing cases have people not get in the car and drink and drive. So what we prefer is everybody knows it's a no refusal period of time, then just please don't get in your car drunk. Remember that buzz driving is the same thing. People who say, well, I've just had one, I'm going to be fine, are not the best judge of their own sobriety. Every DWI offender that's arrested from now through the New Year's will have to provide their blood sample. If they refuse, they will be taken, or the case will be taken to a judge, will get a warrant, and will get the sample anyway. There is no refusal of breath testing from now through New Year's. Why would we do that? Because it gives us better evidence. Better evidence leads to more convictions. Last year, during this same period of time, the Christmas, New Year's no refusal, in Tarrant County we filed 132 DWI cases. 1/3 of those, the drivers, were over 2 times the legal limit for alcohol. It is a significant problem that we address in 2 ways: by arresting people and convicting them, and also by letting people know that they shouldn't get out during this period of time or ever and drink and drive. 2 of our partners, and we have partners throughout the entire Metroplex here today, or through our county here today, from Hearst, Dalworthington Gardens, Arlington, Fort Worth, and North Richland Hills. And I want to particularly introduce 2 of the chiefs, because Chief Johnson is here from Arlington, and Chief Perdue is here from North Richland Hills. And they're very important partners with us in this effort, and they're important because not only do they assist in the detection and arrest of offenders, but they actually also provide space for the nurses who do the blood draws. So they are a big partner in this effort for Tarrant County. So I think first we're going to have Chief Johnson, if you'd come up. Chief Will Johnson, Arlington Police Department.
Thank you, Madam DA. We're proud to stand with you and the other law enforcement agencies in Tarrant County for this no refusal effort as we try to combat the scourge of drunk driving that is plaguing our communities. It's very disappointing, though, that we enter this holiday season as the legislature has met and dismissed without the passage of DWI sobriety checkpoints. As we know, DWI sobriety checkpoints have proven to reduce the instances of DWIs occurring in states that have those. I had stats and figures to share with you this morning about the participation in No Refusal Weekend and Arlington's effort to combat drunk driving. But I think that I'll just share with you what happened last night at 1:30 in Arlington. Within 2 blocks of the police station, 2 pedestrians were walking down the street where they were mowed down by a drunk driver. They narrowly escaped dying. If it weren't for DWI officers investigating a trail of oil from a leaking car across town only to stop a drunk driver who still had pieces of a utility pole dangling in his front grill, denying the fact that he was a drunk driver and that he struck anything, we would not have found him. This is the type of example that our officers are facing every day. This is the type of case that can hurt and harm people, your loved ones. So as a society, we've got to stop focusing only on the offender and recognize that there are real people that are being victimized by drunk driving every day. And it's not only the drunk driver. So we will partner with the rest of law enforcement to do whatever is humanly possible, including no refusal weekends, to make sure that we take drunk drivers off the streets. Thank you.
Chief Perdue from Northridge Hills.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I'm also honored to be here representing the law enforcement agencies around Tarrant County. We are very proud to be a partner with all of our fellow partners in the Tarrant County area. Northridge Hills, being the 3rd largest city in Tarrant County, feels a certain obligation to make sure that we represent and have the facilities available for officers to be able to come forward and bring their arrestees in there. Likewise, as the DA mentioned, we have the space available for the nurses to come in so that we can speed up the process and get the officers back out on the street faster so they can be out there patrolling the streets. Like Chief Johnson, we recently had an accident, a serious fatality accident that came from intoxication. It's a tragic event that occurred both in our city as well. Accidents continue to occur each and every day, and we must, as a law enforcement agency and as a community as a whole, band together to try to get rid of the drunk driving. As the sign says, we drove in today, I saw the sign on the freeway. It says, buzz driving is drunk driving. It's the same thing. There should be no drinking and driving at all during the holiday period or even during any time period. We have the specific time that we put an emphasis on it. We appreciate the media being here to help us get that message out to everyone. But this is not just a holiday event. This is a year-round commitment to making sure that we eliminate drunk driving in our society as a whole. We appreciate so much all the efforts that are going forward to combat this. Appreciate both the efforts of the sheriff as well as the DA to make sure that we are combating this as a group. Thank you very much.
And Richard Alpert, who is one of the state experts on DWI and DWI cases, I'm going to ask him to come up and say a few words because he has all the details over the several years that we have done no refusal in Tarrant County. So Richard, if you please speak.
So this is the 4th year that we've had a countywide no refusal program that's been funded by a grant. And the program has grown every year. When we first started this program, we had 7 holiday periods that were covered. We now have 14 holiday periods covered. When we first started the program, we had 2 locations geographically where the grant paid for nurses to be available to sign warrants. We now have 3 such locations, as well as resources from local magistrates who volunteer their time to review warrants as they come in. We continue the program because no refusal works. Over 40% of fatalities in the state of Texas happen during weekends. Those numbers spike during the holidays. Our goal during no refusal is deterrent, first and foremost. It is our hope and prayer that those viewing this information, viewing this press conference, will heed our warning. Parents, keep track of your teenagers. Know who they're with and where they are. Take responsibility for those around you that you know have a drinking and driving problem and keep them off the roadways. If we work together, we can solve this problem. We can have a fatality-free, no-refusal weekend. And as you can tell from the support behind me, if you don't heed our warning, we will fine you, we will prosecute you, and you'll be held accountable. Thank you.
And we do thank all the law enforcement officers that came on behalf of this today, because it is huge. Your support is the reason that it's been successful over the years, and we really do thank you for your support and work specifically on trying to keep drunk drivers off our streets. I've asked the sheriff also has been a big supporter of the no refusal period of time, because obviously he supports, because he's got the county jail, and assist with all the cases that are filed and people who are arrested for that. And I know that y'all are interested in a particular case, and we're going to go ahead and we have a couple of billboards that we want to put up. And then the sheriff and I will have be able to answer your questions on these matters. Okay, so you know that Ethan Couch, who is being sought by the U.S. Marshal Service, and we have a little additional information we want to provide you today. So you are well aware that in 2013, while he was drunk driving, he killed 4 people in Tarrant County, and actually in the county. The sheriff's office worked that case. The judge in that case, it was a juvenile. He was a juvenile at the time, and the judge in that case gave him a 10-year probated sentence. He has, we've been notified by the juvenile department that they are searching for him, and we need the public's help in locating this vehicle. We know that this vehicle, which you see a picture of over here, may be belonging to his mother, Tanya Couch. We are looking for that vehicle. We need the public's help. So if anyone sees that vehicle, we need you to report it to law enforcement. Either report it to the U.S. Marshal Service or to Tarrant County Crime Stoppers, or call the sheriff's office. The lead investigator in locating him for our office is one of our DA investigators who's assigned to the U.S. Marshal Service. And we've had a very cooperative effort of all law enforcement in looking for Ethan Couch, and now also his mother, Tanya Couch. The sheriff may have additional remarks at this point, and then if you have questions.
Thank you. I don't have a whole lot to add to this other than, I want to echo the appreciation that we have. Obviously, this case is very, very important to my agency and my department. Unfortunately for us, our deputies were the ones that had to investigate the horrific crime scene that resulted in the irresponsible decision that Ethan Couch made, which is perfectly fits in with the theme of the first theme of this press conference today. Someone who should have never gotten behind a wheel and did so after being 3 times the legal limit of intoxication. So I know many of you are following this minute to minute and day by day, but let me say that, again, we cannot express our appreciation enough to the Marshal's Office, the FBI Fugitive Task Force that have offered their assistance, the DA's office, all the law enforcement agencies that are supplying manpower. We have literally, over the past few days, run down hundreds and hundreds of leads. Those leads continue to pour in. I know the big question all of you have is, do we know where he is? Have we located him? Unfortunately, the answer to that is no, we have not. We don't have any solid information. What we're doing is trying to keep everything centralized and know what everyone is doing, which is very difficult when the case is spread out so far. But a prime example of the information is this truck today, because we're trying to account for everything that's possible, where they might be, what they might have access to, and this pickup truck is one thing that we haven't been able to account for. So there's a possibility that she or they may be in that truck. We don't know that for a fact, but we also want to account for it. And so we can, if we know they're not in it, it's not being used, we can scratch that off our list and move on. we encourage the public to continue to watch for them, to look for them, to look for this vehicle. If anyone sees anything, call your local law enforcement or call the sheriff's office or the marshal's office or the DA's office. Excuse me, as Sharon said. We worked through the weekend. We had deputies and officers and marshals out all weekend following leads. Everybody has tried to get me to say how many leads we've gotten. There is absolutely no way I can tell you the number. They come in so many different forms, so many different directions, that it's very difficult, if not impossible, for us to count them as they come in. We're getting them by phone, by social media. Other agencies are calling us with information they've received, so it's very difficult. As I said last week, when you get this much information, it can be a double-edged sword, because now we have to process through so much information. We have to try to prioritize what is the best lead to work on now, what do we need to work on immediately, and what can we put off for some time. And as I'm sure most of you are, some of the leads we get are not really useful at all. That's not meant to discourage anyone from calling in. We want any information that people think is good for us, but some of the information is just not anything we can really follow up or work on. So with that, I've brought hard copies of this handout. It'll also be on all our social media sites. If you want to download it from there, you're welcome to. We've just pushed it out on the when this news conference started, we pushed it out on our Facebook page, the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office. So if you need to download it directly, you can. I brought a hard copy of it, and with that, I'm sure the DA or I will be happy to answer whatever question you got. Just don't yell at me. I'll get to everybody. I promise. I don't want to turn it into that. Just hold your hand up, and I promise I won't leave until I'm done. Unless, go ahead.
Sheriff, can you talk about the involvement of the U.S. Marshals in this case and what kind of expertise and help they bring to what you guys are doing locally?
You know, they have a tremendous amount of expertise, and their area of expertise really is tracking fugitives. You know, I have a very large fugitive unit myself. We have about 16,000 outstanding warrants that we're out trying to serve each and every day. So we're not strangers to serving warrants, but these guys, particularly with their national reach, that's where we're handicapped. We have a really good presence in Tarrant County. But prior to the Marshals' involvement, if we got a tip in Memphis, we had to get on the phone, call the Memphis police, and say, hey, would you go check out this lead for us? Now, the Marshals can snap their fingers. They've got people all over the country. They've got an agent in Memphis that can go do whatever needs to be done. So between that and their ability to track phone records and flight records and passports and all the things that need to be done, you know, they just have a tremendous amount of ability and expertise to do that sort of thing. Yes, sir.
At this time, I know that you are now searching for his mother as well, that she is classified as missing. Are you ready to name her as a suspect in this case?
You know, we've talked about that at length, and the DA and I discussed that this morning. I really don't think we're to the point where we can say that. I think we all have a very strong suspicion, and we believe that she's helping him and that she's assisting him. But as far as what we believe and what we think and what we can prove are two different things, and I don't think we at this point can prove that that's. To be honest with you, at this point, we can't even prove that they're together. We certainly believe they're together. We certainly have every reason to believe that. But as I've said previously, and I'll continue to say, if we can find out that she helped him at all, I assure you we will file criminal cases against her. The DA's in full agreement with this, and we're going to prosecute her as fully as we can if she helps him at all.
Sheriff, you talked about flight records, financial records, cell phone records. Have any of those things been tracked? Is there any indication where they might be or what kind of money they're using to do whatever they're doing?
You know, all of that has been looked at, but to say that, you know, we've got anything solid, you know, I obviously can't talk specifically about, you know, what we're finding and things like that. Let me just say that we're following every one of those avenues, and so far we haven't gotten the lead that we need, but we've gotten some information, some indication.
Sure, we're all here for a reason, and there's a lot of interest being paid to this. You've done this job for quite a while. Why do you think?
All right, guys, we're going to cut out of this press conference. I'm going to take you live to Las Vegas, where we are anticipating a press conference that is scheduled to start any minute now. This will give us an update on last night's terrible crash. It's a story we've been talking about since we kicked things off earlier today on News Now. We will be getting an update from authorities. Going to go ahead and show you the podium right now where the press conference will be taking place momentarily.
Testing 1 2 3. What's up, man? Hey, you owe me dinner, man. Steak dinner. I'm hooking you up. 1 2 3. Testing. Testing. Testing.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Oh yeah. Let me pop it on. I'm gonna put you in line. Okay, hold on. Let me change it here. Okay. Thanks very much. Yeah.
Testing. Testing. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Testing.
Oh well.
Testing. Testing 1 2 3. 1 2 3. Testing. Good. Good.
Thanks, sir.
I'm just trying to be like you, man. Hey, I walked in a few times in the past. I see you doing this.
You don't want to be like me, man.
I always want to be like Carlos.
You don't want that.
Testing. Testing. Sir, how you doing?
Do you have that wrapped around the light? Turn that off. See if well, both these. I think they're introducing RF into our system. Well, we're using these. Well, you can't fuck up everybody else with that. Is it off? Stop broadcasting for a second and see if it gets rid of all the noise.
Lights turned back on.
So I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
They need light back on? Yes, please. Let me know when you hear something. 4 minutes. How's that? 4 minutes. You guys want me now? I was going to shut them off, but hey, what's your thing? What? Well, there you go. I'll bring my camera down now.
17, 14, 13.
Keelan.
You know, Keelan Cars? Yeah. Thank you. Marcus and I have been here making fun of you for the last time. That's true. This one.
Oh, yeah, that's not really that much.
We think you're compensating or something.
I can't hear you. What's up? Yeah. This is I might be I mean, my phone. Yeah, this is very good. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's my phone now. Oh, okay.
Vegas, if we know. I use source
Yeah. Reading and writing too.
Reading and writing less so, but yeah.
I'm not really
They both
It's just they.
Everybody's good with white balance, yes? Everyone got a mic check, yes?
Mic check 1 2. Mic check. Mic check 1 2. We're good. We're good with mic. We're good with sound. Yes. We're all good.
We're good with white balance. What do you need?
He says no videos coming. What do we need? I heard. Okay, they're still expecting to do it at the top of the hour as soon as I get started yet. I've got videos right now. No power. I don't know. Where are we playing that there's no power on this. Scott, have a blue light. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Hey. We're going to figure it out on the power issue. Are you feeding Mark? No. They should see a picture. No, I told him.
Cross your legs real wide, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. What do you want? You want the microphone? Okay, you got it. They want a shot of the room. All right. Gotcha. They're in. 30 seconds. Me? Are you showing up? Yeah, he's on the TL. Can you, or you're not? Right here. They want a timer. No one's here.
Chad, they're like gonna have to kick it. They're gonna have to kick it. They're like taking out.
Everybody's good with mics? Good with mics? White balance, everybody good? Mic check one more time. Check 1 2 3 4, check. One more mic coming. Check 1 2 3 4, check, check. Check 1 2 3 4, check, check. Check 3 4, check. Good? Good, good.
So So I'm clear you want the program. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Okay. So they want you to
Check 3-4. Check, check. Check 1 2 1 2 3 4. Good, good. All right. Good. Check 1 2 3 4. Check, check. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2 1 2 3 4. Mic check. Check 1 2. Good, good. Nobody else need white? It's great.
Yep.
We're just texting lead.
I just text them. Who's streaming? Who's doing live?
Channel 13.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, presumably the newscasters will be going on.
The sheriff will be speaking to Joe Martin, and we just saw the attorney.
Okay, so assuming that it's going on, you will wait.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
We don't know about the
Okay, got it. Understood.
We're good to go.
What? All of the audio guys.
If some reason this hasn't started yet, then I'll voice over it. Otherwise, if the thing is started, so did that mic.
That's my good.
I'm not even getting this.
Gotcha. Am I the only one that's done?
I mean, I had it. You know, I was thinking about No, not that we know of. John asked me if I could. He's the sheriff. I guess I sound like a sort of. It doesn't hold, but they never say the winner is blah blah blah. They always say the first one, and then you know. Yeah, that's the other one. Oh,
Morning. Morning, Sheriff. How are you today? Huh? Yeah. Happy solstice. Well, good morning, everybody. That usually solicits a response. Good morning, Sheriff. Good morning. Well, there you go. So we have a couple things to talk about today, more in particular the events that took place last night on Las Vegas Boulevard. So the best thing I can do is throw out an admonishment at the beginning. It's an ongoing investigation, and I'll do the best I can to answer any questions you may have. So I'm sure there'll be some frustration associated with some of my responses, but that's where we are in particular to the investigation. So if you bear with me, I'll read through my prepared statement, and then we'll get into the Q&A. But prior to that, I have to acknowledge two individuals standing next to me. That's the District Attorney, Steve Wolfson, to my left, and he will talk about the charges that the suspect is being charged with currently, and then what's possibly going to be pending in the future. And to my right is Deputy Chief Jeff Buchanan from Clark County Fire Department. And the reason why I have him standing there is in particular because of their fantastic response that they had last night to the event as it unfolded. As you know, our success with public safety is reliance on our partners that we can rely on during critical incidents. And Clark County Fire was instrumental, along with a plethora of other individuals like AMR, Medic West, to take care of the victims the best they could and facilitate the transport. Additionally, other public safety individuals, particular NHP and their response, the members of LVMPD and their continued investigation now. Now, you have to be careful because some of my folks to my right over here have been working all night, and they're doing the best they can to facilitate the victims associated with this event and to track down the background of our suspect. And then before I get into the details, in particular to the Mayor, Carolyn Goodman, the County Chairman, Steve Sisolak, and our Governor, Brian Sandoval, all three of them I was in contact with last night, and they offered all the assistance they could to my department and the community in order for a successful arrest and eventual prosecution. So without further ado, just after 6:30 p.m., initial calls to 911 indicated a vehicle had driven onto the sidewalk and struck several pedestrians, and someone thought there might have been gunshots. I'm here to tell you right now there was no gunshots that we could determine. I believe it to be a result of the damage occurred by the vehicle. People may have perceived that it was gunshots. And as of now, we do not believe it to be an act of terrorism. Now, I want you to dwell on that for a second. We are a long ways of being into this investigation and all the intimate details. We had trouble identifying the suspect in the beginning throes of the investigation. We do believe we have her properly identified now, but we are having difficulty obtaining her background. She is believed to be from the Oregon area, and we are going to do the best we can throughout the day to determine her background. In light of that, and not having those unknowns, we're not 100% ruling out the possibility of terrorism. The intentional act that occurred on the boulevard is going to be very hard for us to explain at face value. So we are working through that, but I am comfortable saying now that I do not believe it to be an act of terrorism. But with that admonishment, we are still working through it with the assistance of the FBI. She's a 24-year-old woman driving a car with a 3-year-old female child in the back who drove her vehicle up onto the sidewalk and struck more than 24 innocent people. Video confirms that we believe it to be an intentional act. We do have a video available, and it's through a plethora of different venues. One is the properties themselves on Las Vegas Boulevard, and also our regional crime cameras that we have here at LVMPD, and then additionally from any videos obtained from citizens at our request. So we're still trying to receive as much video as we can, and it is a request out to the public to continue to provide us with information, but we do have a pretty detailed video that shows that it was an intentional act. The suspect, Lakeisha Holloway, repeatedly drove her car over pedestrians. Some jumped on her car and ran up to the window and banged on it, trying to get her to stop, but she didn't. As of now, one person was killed and over 30 people are taken to area hospitals. 3 are critical. with head injuries. We do not know at this point if any of them are Nevada residents. We haven't had information at this point whether any of them are, in fact, Nevada residents. She left the scene and drove a few blocks to the Tuscany Casino, which is as you turn east off the boulevard, eastbound Flamingo, where she parked in a parking spot at that location, exited her vehicle, left her toddler within the vehicle, and contacted a valet parker and advised that she had ran over some individuals on Las Vegas Boulevard and requested the valet parker to call 911. So District Attorney Wolfson will advise you on the charges pending Ms. Holloway currently, and then what potential future charges will occur as we process through the victims at the various area hospitals. The victims were transported to 4 separate hospitals, that being Sunrise, UMC, Spring Valley, and Desert Springs Hospital, with the majority of them being transported to our 2 separate trauma centers, which would be UMC and Sunrise. As of now, the locations of the victims, actually where they reside throughout the United States and other countries, we are able to assess individuals from Quebec, Canada, Oregon, Colorado, Florida, Washington, California, and Mexico. So as far as any more specific details, I'm happy to answer any questions, but prior to that, I'd like to bring up Mr. Wolfson so he could advise you on the charges.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, everybody. Like the Sheriff, I'd quickly like to acknowledge all of the first responders. I mean, you can all imagine what it must have been like only 16 hours ago on our Las Vegas Strip with a 2,000 plus pound vehicle ramming into literally 30 people or so. And I want to acknowledge and thank not only law enforcement but our other first responders for the incredible work they do. My office is beginning to receive paperwork on this case. As you can imagine, it's only been a few hours, but we intend to file charges immediately. We are going to start off by filing 1 count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon. We will also be filing additional charges as the information flows to our office. The other charges we're considering are a multitude of counts of attempted murder with use of a deadly weapon, child abuse and neglect, which pertains to the toddler which was in the back seat of this vehicle, as well as the felony count of leaving the scene of an accident, which I'm sure many of you realize as of October 1st is a non-probationable offense that this lady faces. Once again, charges initially are going to be filed, but as we receive more information, like the Sheriff said, this is an ongoing investigation with videotapes and witness statements and other physical evidence to review. I anticipate a great number of charges to be filed. This woman is in custody. We're going to do everything in our power to see that she remains in custody under the law and file charges appropriately and seek a vigorous prosecution and seek justice in this case. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. So at this point, I'm happy to entertain questions.
Sheriff, everybody wants to know why she did it. What's the motive?
That's exactly what we would like to find out. Right now, she made statements on the scene at the point of arrest. As I mentioned, the investigation is ongoing, but we haven't determined to the exact fact what the motive was. We believe that she had some disassociation with the father of her child, and then events prior to the event, her being what we believe to be in Las Vegas approximately a week and homeless and residing within her vehicle. We don't know the exact recipient event that caused her to snap and or whether it was planned previously.
Were there any weapons in the vehicle?
No, not at this point. We are executing the search warrant on the vehicle as we speak, but we have not located a weapon as of this moment in time.
Can you tell us who the vehicle owner is?
The owner resides in Portland, Oregon, but the suspect advised that it is in fact her vehicle, but it is registered to a separate individual in Oregon.
Sheriff, did she offer any explanation of why she did what she did?
She did, and I'm not comfortable disclosing that at this point because it is an ongoing investigation, but I can't go any further into that comment.
Sheriff, where's the child?
Child is in Child Haven here locally in Las Vegas under protective custody, and then we will do everything in our power to attempt to locate the father. We believe the father may be residing in Dallas, Texas, and at some point we believed that she was attempting to make her way that direction via Las Vegas.
Do you know if she has a history of mental illness at all?
No. See, this is the issue associated with her individually. We are attempting, she does not show previous arrests in NCIC, so we're doing the best we can to track down all family members and or friends within the Oregon area to determine her background the best we can, and also trying to locate the father of the child. We tested blood. We recovered blood subsequent her arrest. She did not demonstrate signs of being under the influence of alcohol, but we had a drug recognition expert respond to the scene and determined that he believed she to be under some sort of stimulant. So.
Did you get an initial read from the blood draw?
No, that takes some time prior to us having the ability to do that, but obviously in this case it will be expedited.
Sheriff, why can you not rule out terrorism as a potential cause of this at this point?
Well, as I said, the video obviously shows intention. Her exiting the roadway onto the sidewalk and then obviously plowing through the pedestrians on the sidewalk. But as far as terrorism, we don't know what the intent was behind it, and we don't know enough of her background to make that determination. As you can imagine, what happened in San Bernardino, a review of all the social media and everything else led the FBI down that path. We haven't had the time or the luxury to get through all those investigative leads yet. So, we believe she's been here approximately a week. I don't have the exact day.
How's the child doing?
The child's fine.
Are you guys going to release the surveillance video?
Not at this point. As a matter of prosecution, I'm confident it will be released at a proper point in time. But our concern at this point is the jury pool and our ability to have an untainted pool. So.
Assuming you ultimately do rule out terrorism, is this any sort of a wake-up call about the threat on the Strip?
Well, I wouldn't perceive it as a threat. What I would perceive is public safety and traffic issues associated with the Strip. It's an ongoing discussion with the county and Public Works in order to create a safe environment on Las Vegas Boulevard, and our ability to put barricades, barriers, and everything else associated with pedestrian traffic whenever you have a high-density vehicle traffic associated with it, to put those things in place in order to ensure safety.
You said that you haven't completely ruled out terrorism as part of that because of the statement that she made?
No, because our lack of knowledge of her background.
Okay, just the background, not something she said.
Correct. Nothing that she said.
Is she going to be eligible for the death penalty, District Attorney?
You know, that's a consideration.
Could you move to the microphone?
Sure.
Sorry.
Like any murder case, that's something that is always considered, but it's too early to even begin talking about that. I've read one page of a report, and I'm sure when this case comes to our office after all of these great investigators finish their work, there's going to be a lot of paper to review, a person's background and all the circumstances before we consider the death penalty.
Sheriff, you're going to have 300,000 people at the same place on the Las Vegas Strip in 2 weeks. What can you tell us?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. Obviously, it's America's party happening in 2 weeks, and we're doing everything we can to ensure everybody's safety. That was an ongoing process, and everybody knows that's something we do here every year, and it's a year-long process, and it has been ramped up in the most recent months in light of what's been taking place across the United States and the world. So I'm confident at this point we have all the mechanisms in place to be successful, and we are being very proactive to be successful. But as far as this having a direct correlation to New Year's Eve, I do not believe it to be so.
Was there any discussion about not doing New Year's Eve?
No, sir, not at all. I'm pretty confident that we can provide a safe environment.
Sheriff, with all the questions you have, what would you say at this point today is the biggest unknown in this case to you?
Well, the question was presented 2 different times. What caused her to do this? We need to be more comfortable in the reasons behind that, and in particular, what her background is that we need to be made aware of.
Did she offer any remorse?
I couldn't comment on that. My personal opinion was she was very stoic at the time of the event.
Sheriff, can you give us some more detail about the number of people, or perhaps Jeff, the number of people hospitalized, transported, treated?
Yes, my count currently, bear with me while I go to my notes. And obviously I can't release names or extensive injuries on these individuals outside of the individual that passed away and or the 3 that have critical head injuries that we are concerned with. But the total count associated with the event so far, and some people self-transported, some people will determine 12 hours later that they have injuries that they need to report. But as of now, I am comfortable with the number of 35.
Sheriff, you said she was stoic. What do you mean by that?
Well, there was she didn't appear to be distressed due to her actions. That's the best way I could describe it.
Can you talk a little bit about the efficiency of the response and how that may have saved some lives?
Yes, great question. The efficiency of response was fantastic, and that's why I thought it was important for me to mention our public safety partners in the beginning of this. I believe we did a great job in responding to an incident that went across several city blocks, and the ability to get the victims transported in a timely manner, and the ability for us to respond, apprehend a suspect, and conduct an investigation.
Sheriff, could you describe taking her into custody, what occurred, you said that a valet partner was asked to call.
Yeah, so there was an eventual call into 911. Obviously, because of the recent event that had taken place just a few short blocks away, it was easy to correlate the 2 incidents, and we responded, and she was basically standing there in a position of non-threatening, and she was taken into custody without incident.
Was she completely coherent? I mean, you talked about her.
Well, the initial conversations with our investigators, she did appear coherent.
What did you that she was living at Planet Hollywood and was kicked off the property?
Well, we're trying to confirm that. I would not describe it as living at Planet Hollywood. I did describe to you earlier that she was living in her vehicle. She was utilizing different parking structures throughout the valley in order to reside, to spend the night. We are still tracking that down, but we do believe she was at Planet Hollywood earlier. So,
with the child?
With the child.
How do you spell her name?
First name spelled Lakeisha, middle initial of N.
And like Nancy?
Yes, ma'am. And last name Holloway, Holloway.
And you said 24 years of age?
Yes, sir.
And you said Oregon, did you say town? Is it Portland or something?
Well, the vehicle comes from the Portland area. We are still tracking down her place of residence within Oregon. So.
What do you know about her actions last night prior to the crashes?
We don't. All we know is what I described here. Is that she was in Vegas for approximately a week. Now, these are all comments made by her. And I don't want to get into too much of those comments because of we got prosecution things that we have to deal with. But we believe her to be here for approximately a week, residing in her vehicle in lack of money. So we don't know if she was soliciting alms associated with her stay here or she had some money associated with her stay, but we're doing the best we can to track that down.
How did the public cooperate or not cooperate?
Well, we didn't have any incidents with non-cooperation. The video is very telling. Many of the people in direct vicinity of the accident were attempting to get her into custody, trying to access the vehicle by banging on the windows, opening the doors in order to take her into custody, citizen arrest type action. And then subsequently, we received numerous calls in support of direction of travel and suspect description. And then obviously the medical professionals received a great assistance from the public within the Las Vegas Boulevard in assistance with the victims.
Can you recount how
mug shot from the incident last night?
Yes, sir.
And is that booking today or yesterday?
It would be last night. So,
Last night.
yes.
Can you recount for
When
us?
we had encountered her, the only difference would be her hair was pulled back in a ponytail.
Can you recount for us going on the sidewalk once, twice?
And that's another great question. It was presented several times last night that the car entered the sidewalk, exited the sidewalk, entered the sidewalk. So we're trying to bring that down the best we can. At this point, we believe she entered the sidewalk in front of the north end of Planet Hollywood at the escalator area. She traversed the entrances into the Paris, which would be one to believe that she exited the sidewalk at that point. And she continued to travel northbound down the east sidewalk of Las Vegas Boulevard. And the best we can tell at this point, she exited around the area of Bally's and subsequently re-entered the sidewalk. We are doing the best we can to reconstruct that timeline and whether we had victims associated to the Bally's area.
What's her estimated speed?
We don't know yet.
There are posts, there are news racks, and other things on the sidewalk there. Did she hit those as well?
Yes, she did.
And she had all four tires of the vehicle on the sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
Has Metro advocated for the sidewalk barriers in the past that you mentioned earlier?
Well, no, that's been an ongoing conversation. You know, obviously we're based on hospitality in Las Vegas, and I appreciate that. But sometimes security measures don't dictate hospitality, and it's an ongoing conversation that we have with the county and ensure that we can put preventative measures in place to protect the safety of our pedestrians. And, you know, importantly, the county has been going through approximately 2+ years of public works changes on Las Vegas Boulevard, widening the sidewalk areas, moving news racks, and a lot of things that are a benefit to pedestrian movement. But that's an ongoing conversation, and we will continue to pursue the best we can.
Do you know approximately how many people signed or gave witness statements to police?
I don't have that number. Dan, do you have an approximate number?
We interviewed well over 30, but there was probably another at least 30 written statements too, so we're still going through all that.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're still going to receive some more today, Joe. So
Calls still coming in today.
Is it possible to say how many people were on that sidewalk, those sidewalks, at the time that this happened?
well, yeah, video reconstruction, we'll be able to tell that number, but my view of the sidewalk in excess of 100. So, yeah.
Mr. District Attorney, when will be the first court appearance, and where?
Well, she's scheduled for what is called a 48-hour hearing tomorrow morning, but that is not a courtroom hearing. That is a paper review where a judge reviews to determine whether there's probable cause to continue to hold her, and then a 72-hour hearing perhaps on Wednesday. However, I will tell you that in coordination with the police department, my office is working quickly. So those dates may be moved up. She could be in court as early as tomorrow morning. We anticipate filing charges, if not today, tomorrow. So she'll be in court facing those charges either tomorrow or Wednesday morning.
Currently being held without bail?
She is. Murder with use of a deadly weapon is a set in court type of setting, which means there's no bail. until she appears in court.
Do you anticipate taking this to a grand jury?
You know, it's too early. We take some cases to the grand jury for certain reasons, and we take other cases to a preliminary hearing. That'll be decided in the next couple of weeks.
Sheriff, in your experience as a police for some 30 years, does this remind you of any other cases you've ever experienced?
Well, I mean, if you review the incidents that take place on Las Vegas Boulevard, you're fully aware of a previous incident where we had a similar circumstances out in front of Monamica B, which is at the Paris. An individual entered the sidewalk, pretty close proximity to the incident last night, and we did have individuals struck by a vehicle at that point. By the luck of God, we had an off-duty police officer dining in close proximity and was able to take that individual into custody. But as far as the number of individuals involved, I cannot recall anyone of this high level of victimization. All right.
Ask the fire chief or deputy chief how many firefighters responded. Any detail you could give us on this one?
Sure, we had over 70 personnel on scene. Excuse me, we had over 70 personnel respond on scene, and they established a unified command, which I'd be remiss if we didn't thank the law enforcement for that unified command that helped the incident go very much more smoothly. But there are over 70 personnel on scene, and we did use the resources from Las Vegas Fire and Rescue and from AMR, and everybody worked in partnership.
Jeff, how many ambulances were brought to the scene for this?
Well, a level 3 MCI requires a couple of strike teams. I'm not sure if all those resources did actually arrive on scene. There were upwards of 10 plus ambulances that arrived.
And we heard of transports with more than one person per ambulance?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Were there any injuries to first responders?
No, there's no reported injuries at this time, first responders.
Some media are reporting she said she was tired. Can you confirm that?
I'm sorry?
There's some reports that she...
Who's she? Oh, the suspect? Okay. That she was tired? I can't get clarification on that comment. I just can imagine if somebody's stressed for an extended period of time that they may exhibit those traits, but I'm not sure if comments were made to that effect. Okay, before we conclude, I just want to again repeat my condolences to the families and the victims themselves. This is a tragic event, and hopefully it will never happen again in our community. But we will do the best to bring the victims satisfaction associated with this event. So everybody do the best you can to enjoy the holidays, and we look forward to New Year's Eve. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
How you doing, bud? Hey.
I'm sorry.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on the press conference. I want to read you guys some interesting facts that I found out about Lakeisha Holloway online, various news outlets doing some extra research to find out as much as they can about the suspect involved in yesterday's deadly crash on the Las Vegas Strip. As we heard from authorities, one person killed, that individual from right here in Arizona, Buckeye, Arizona, 32-year-old woman, and more than 30 people injured. Initially, we were told that it was 37, but during the press conference, the official speaking said that he could say 35 for sure had been injured. So let me tell you a few facts about Lakeisha Holloway. Now, this is according to the website heavy.com. We know that Lakeisha Holloway is a 24-year-old woman from Oregon. Police say she intentionally ran her car onto the sidewalk, and she had her young child in the car at the time. Again, the incident occurred around 6:30 yesterday. Now, here are some interesting facts about Lakeisha. Now, according to her family members, Lakeisha Holloway was not this kind of person, saying that this wasn't like her at all. One of her cousins said she was a successful overachiever, and this isn't something she would ever do, adding something very tragic must have taken place in her life because this is not her. Another cousin said that Holloway was a sweet and loving mother who had recently been living in Texas before returning to the West Coast. She said around that time that she noticed a change in Holloway and she had a completely different attitude when she returned from Texas. Interestingly enough, Lakeisha Holloway on Facebook posted a photo of the area where the crash occurred on her Facebook page. Now we're going to go ahead and pull up her Facebook page right here. Here is that photo. It's a public photo on her Facebook profile. She posted a photo a little over 3 years ago of this exact location where the crash took place. And apparently in October, Holloway petitioned to have her name changed to Paris Paradise Morton. And at that time, she'd listed Vancouver as her home address. Now, this website is speculating that from her name change and her photo, it's obviously clear that this location, the Paris Hotel, meant something to Holloway, but it is unclear at the time what that meaning was. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on her profile. This is the person believed to be the suspect, studied at Portland Community College. She updated her cover photo in October. And there's a photo of her. And there's this photo as well of the suspect. Let's go back to her mugshot, tweeted by Fox in Las Vegas.
Attention stations coming up on ELC2. This is the Pan Am 103 Memorial at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia.
We're also learning now, according to the Oregonian, that Holloway was convicted of operating a vehicle without driving privileges and driving uninsured back in December 2011. It does not appear that she had any other arrests in her home state. Holloway was homeless during her freshman year of high school and had to fend for herself, according to an Oregon newspaper. This Oregon newspaper reporting it in 2012, the Scanner News. Her mother was addicted to alcohol, she told the newspaper. Now, the article was about Holloway receiving a care role model from a local charity that assisted her during school. Holloway, who went on to graduate from high school with the help of Portland Opportunities Industrial Center, was pursuing a career in the Forest Service at the time of that 2012 story. Now, according to Clark County Jail records, Lakeisha Holloway is being held until a hearing at 7:30 a.m. Tuesday. That is tomorrow morning, 8:30 our time. Her initial bail amount was set to $5,000. We are now getting a live event in of a memorial. We're going to go live now, and I will give you more details as it becomes available, but these are live images coming in right now of a memorial taking place. All right, guys, I don't have much information on this memorial right now. We have to touch base with Fox National. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue showing you the press conference on the search for the Affluenza teen out in Texas. Affluenza teen Ethan Couch, missing for about a week now after he missed his probation hearing last week. Now, you might remember Ethan Couch as the individual who, despite driving drunk and killing people, was not sent to prison, claiming that because he grew up privileged and wealthy, he did not know right from wrong. That individual now missing, and authorities on a search for him. We're going to continue with that press conference now.
Really, in this community, when the accident happened, understands that. I have never in my law enforcement career, and that's 35 years now, seen a case that sparked such outrage, that sparked such emotion from people. The fact that 4 totally innocent people were literally taken away in a second by the irresponsible actions of this juvenile, and then as the case unfolded, as we learned all the details of what happened that night, of the things that occurred before the accident, of how totally irresponsible, how totally he disregarded any rules or laws. And then it unfolds that not only did he do it that night, but apparently he'd done it his entire life with the assistance of his parents. And that just is, infuriated this community. And then when the miscarriage of justice, when he wasn't locked up for that and got the probation, I mean, it just almost a volcano almost erupted here. And that's the reason everyone has a vested interest in that in this county, in this part of the world. You, sir.
I have 2 questions. First of all, to follow up on that, what you were saying, do you believe that outrage is actually helping your investigation? I mean, is it the fact that it was a light sentence in most people's minds, encouraging people to step forward and give you tips?
I think so. I think it's made more people pay attention to it. Obviously, it certainly has, because it was so infamous when it happened. The whole, I hate to even say the word, but the whole affluenza defense thing that got national publicity. And I think that's got a lot of y'all here that might not have been here otherwise. And so all the publicity we're getting, everything we're pushing out, and now the fact that we don't know where they are, that they could be somewhere a great distance away, all the national publicity is helping, and I think that outrage helps.
Can I ask the
Sure.
question? If you could define a little bit of what the possible violation of probation is here. Do the conditions of his probation say that he's not allowed to be around alcohol or not allowed to drink alcohol?
You know, as a juvenile and being on probation, the problem for him on the juvenile probation is that he's not here. Juveniles have to ask permission to leave the county. He's obviously, we believe, not in the county. And so that in itself is a violation of his probation. You will note that in November, our office filed a motion to transfer his probation to adult court. When he's in juvenile court, their standard is different. In Texas, they look at what is in the best interest of the child. We obviously feel like he needs to be in adult court where a judge will hold him accountable for his actions. And so that's the proceeding that we're looking forward to, and the motion that we filed in November before all this other happened.
So is that a violation of probation, I guess I'm asking?
It is yes, it's a violation of his probation. Let's talk about that. It's kind of an anomaly of Texas law that a juvenile who violates probation can be revoked, and he can be sent to the juvenile detention facility till he's 19. This defendant, Ethan Couch, turns 19 in April. Being locked up in a juvenile facility for 4 months doesn't seem like much punishment to me. The alternative is for him to be transferred to adult court and spend the remainder of that 10-year probated sentence, which is about another 8 years, under the supervision of an adult criminal district judge, which hopefully will hold him more accountable than he's been so far.
Jail time?
He's looking at possible penitentiary time if he is transferred to adult court.
Madam DA and the Sheriff, I apologize, just should this have been a foreseeable situation? We're talking about a family with means. Sometimes people are denied bail for such things when they're arrested for crimes. This is a case that was adjudicated. Should the situation we're talking about right now have been...
This was not a bailable case. He was on probation. The problem was that he was on probation, right? So the judge gave him probation. He was on probation conditions. There was nothing until he left for him to be bailable for. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess
a crime has to commit or a violation before he's ordered to make bail.
So let me say, and I've said publicly, many times that this didn't surprise us in law enforcement at all. Those people who dealt with him at the accident scene and the post-accident scene saw absolutely no remorse. We saw absolutely no guilt or bad feelings or sympathy toward the 4 families and the 4 lives that he'd taken and the families that he'd shattered. And I said then, 2 years ago, we're not through with Ethan Couch. He will be back in the criminal justice system. He is not the kind of person who rehabilitates, who learns his lesson. And so to say it was a surprise to us, not at all. Yes, ma'am.
I'm working with authorities in Mexico or Canada.
We can't really go into the details of who we're working with. Our investigator, who is assigned to the fugitive unit at the Marshal Service, they're following leads around the country and wherever those other leads bring us. So every lead is being investigated, and we encourage everyone, if you think you see this person, you think you see his mom, you locate the vehicle, we need you to call authorities.
Can you guys say unequivocally that video that went online, you guys looked into it, is that indeed Ethan Couch? Can you say that with any certainty at that party?
Well, it certainly looks like him.
And can you draw a line, perhaps, between that video and the fact that we're all here today?
Well, again, I've said publicly that I believe that was the trigger for him to run. I believe he felt like the other shoe was getting ready to drop, and I think once that video was made public, that they felt like that he was very likely going to be at some point locked up, which is what we all were assuming and hoping would happen if, in fact, that was him in the video. Obviously, then when he missed his meeting for the probation meeting, now he's in direct violation of his probation. So, I think that, in my opinion, again, I don't have any proof of this, and I've said over and over, this is my opinion, but I think that was the trigger that's him running once that video surfaced.
Is there any kind of credit card activity or something that might give you an idea of where that truck might be right now, or can you?
Go ahead.
No, we're, as the DA said, we're following every aspect and every lead. The great thing about the people that we've got working on the case now is they have a tremendous amount of expertise and ability in that. Obviously, we're not going to stand up here and tell you what we're doing or how we're doing it, because we don't want to give them a understanding of what's going on. But be assured between all of us that nothing's going untouched. We're looking at every possibility. I'm sorry?
We won't. We won't.
No. Yes, ma'am.
Was his passport ever taken away?
We won't be talking about that.
We haven't answered any questions about his passport. Who had another question?
How much is his dad helped? What does he know, and how cooperative has he been in this process?
We interviewed the father a day or so after we got the detention order. He cooperated. He sat down with our investigators and talked to us, had his attorney present while he talked to us. He claimed he hadn't heard from either Ethan or his mom in the last 2 weeks. He didn't have any information to help us about where they might be. He was polite, cooperative, but didn't really forthcome with anything that was real valuable.
And he talked to us also, and I would say that he is apparently cooperative.
If he's shown not to be telling the truth, if he knew where his...
There are a whole nother set of criminal laws that deal with that.
Anything else unaccounted for besides this pickup truck that may have aided in their disappearance?
I'm trying not to, I don't want to be rude, but we're not going to talk about where we are in the investigation and what's going on. Obviously, we felt like this was important enough to put this out publicly. We've obviously got other information that we're not sharing publicly, and we're just to that point. If we think it comes time that we need to push something else out, then we'll do that for sure.
But we do need the public help on this.
Missing persons report, did that have any impact on your investigation? What does that mean?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first question.
The missing person report for Tanya filed by her mother, what impact, or does it have any on your investigation?
I don't think it really does, other than it allowed us to list her in the computer system as a missing person. And so if she gets stopped by any law enforcement agency anywhere around the country, then they'll get a hit on her name, and on that missing person it says that she's possibly accompanying a fugitive. So hopefully, everyone would understand once they saw that hit on the computer that they needed to investigate a little further, hopefully hang on to her and see if they can locate him. So I think it gave us a leg up as far as getting her listed in the national computer system that we didn't have previously. So that helped in that regard.
So you're getting help from her parents, basically, it sounds like.
Her mother came forward and wanted to list her as a missing person.
Big picture here, you guys are here to talk about trying to punish people for drunk driving, and yet you're talking about this case where I think it's fair to say he didn't get punished. How frustrating is that we're, talking about this kid?
I've been very vocal about my frustration. I was vocal about my frustration 2 years ago. I think the entire community was frustrated. I think the entire county was frustrated. We felt like at the time there was a miscarriage of justice. The way juvenile law is, as the DA said, a judge made the decision for whatever reason, and it's something we all had to live with. We didn't like it very much. I still don't like it very much. And my hope now, and I've said this over and over, is that he will finally be held accountable. Now he's made a mistake that hopefully we will be able to hold him accountable for, and he will eventually, ultimately, pay a price for what he did, since he hasn't had to do that so far.
You said that his father was cooperative. Did he open up his financial records, or did you have to get a subpoena?
We're not going to go into details about investigation.
Is there any indication he'll turn himself in? Have you got any leads that
We'd love for him to turn himself in. If he's watching TV, we'd love for him to turn himself in. Turn yourself in.
It would be the easiest thing on him. I mean, we're not going to quit looking for him, and the longer he's gone, the worse it's going to be. And we've said that publicly several times.
To the district attorney, you said earlier in the news conference, you said the problem is that he got probation. Can you define what you mean the problem is that he got probation?
I personally do not believe that a 10-year probated sentence as a juvenile was a sufficient punishment for killing 4 people as a drunk driver, which is the whole point that we're here today to talk about no refusal. The point is not to get in the car after you've been drinking anything. You drink anything, stay out of the car. Your pleasure at driving while you're drunk or buzzed is not worth the lives of the people that you impact or kill. It's just wrong.
Does he or his family have access to firearms?
Those are the kind of questions we just can't answer right now. Yeah.
Have you talked at all to the victims' families, and what are they saying?
Well, I mean, they've been victimized over again. We have talked to some of them, and they're going through all this trauma again that, again, is totally unnecessary. They shouldn't be going through it, and, we just feel terrible for them. I mean, it's a situation that was as bad as any we've ever dealt with, having to deal with the victims' families as the accident occurred. And whatever healing, whatever minor amounts of progress they've been able to make in the last 2 years, now suddenly they're right back in the process of being traumatized over again.
And let me add to that. Let's think about what time of year it is. I mean, it's Christmas. We're doing no refusal for Christmas and for New Year's. And Christmas is about families, and these people no longer have their family members. There isn't anything more difficult in the world than these people being without family members that they loved, and us being focused on the man who killed them. It's just heartbreaking.
Some of the irony of this, at least I'm told, is that even if Ethan had said, yeah, that was me in the video, he wasn't drinking in the video, he was clapping, he wouldn't have faced much of anything, right? That him leaving has really escalated this to a point that nobody would have anticipated, right?
Let me just add to that. I am much less concerned about him getting revoked on juvenile probation and being locked up in a juvenile facility for court. Now, when he gets to adult court, he will start with his probation from that day forward. But it'll be 8 years with a judge who will hold him accountable because he's not a juvenile judge.
Could you, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, could you explain that again? She's asked about, if he'd have come forward and said, yep, that's me in that video, you got me, what happens to him then versus what happens to him now?
Well, I think the thing you got to realize is that in the course of investigating that video, there was possibilities that we could have uncovered information that he was violating his probation by attending that party. The video itself probably was not sufficient evidence to do that, but once we found out who was at the party, we were able to talk to people, interview people, do things like that, then the possibility at least existed that we were going to be able to say with some certainty that he violated the terms of his probation.
Were there other felons at that party?
I don't know.
Have y'all spoken to the people that were in that video?
As the investigation began, I know they started trying to run down people that were there, and that's as far as I'll go with that.
Okay. Let me say one more time how much we appreciate y'all being here, how important no refusal weekend is, or no refusal holidays are, because the point is for us not to be here again. So thank you all very much, and let's focus on no refusal.
Can you give us just a definition of what does no refusal mean when we tell the public it's no refusal weekend? What do you want to drill into their minds that means?
That means do not drink and drive. If you drink anything and drive and you get pulled over by the police and you say, I don't want to give you a breath test, then the police simply get a warrant. And they forcibly, take the blood or the breath. Well, they take the blood. And they do it forcibly, not because they're forcing the person to be held down, but with the force of the warrant, the legal force of the warrant. So we actually, if a person drinks and drives, we go to the judge and get that warrant to make sure that we have their blood test results. That's how we know that during this same period of time last year, 1/3 of the people arrested were over 2 times the legal limit of alcohol. And that is not the society that we want.
Before, you're saying nurses are going to be standing by to take the blood test?
Yes, and judges stand by to sign warrants.
So it's going to be quick.
It's quick.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all very much.
I've got hard copies of this stuff if any of y'all want it. I know most of you will get it electronically. But
You understand my frustration, right? I'm sorry, do what? Thank you very much. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on that press conference. Again, that had to do with the search for the Affluenza teen Ethan Couch. Now, some of you guys in the chat room asked me to clarify some details. Some of you not too familiar with the story. Basically, Ethan Couch was driving drunk, killed 4 people, but did not go to prison, claiming that his family's wealth prevented him from knowing the difference between right and wrong. He was given probation, and last week he missed his probation hearing, and that is when the search began for Ethan Couch. He was not found at the residence where he was last located. Neither him nor his mother can be located, and authorities are searching for him. All right, guys, it is 12 o'clock. I'm going to give you a recap of some of our top 5 stories. Arizona woman killed in the Las Vegas Strip crash. Now, this crash occurred yesterday around 6:30 Las Vegas time. A woman apparently intentionally plowing into the sidewalk a few times, killing 1 person, injuring more than 30 others. A very tragic story. And we are learning this morning that the victim, the person that was killed in this crash, is from right here in Buckeye, Arizona, 32 years old, Jessica Valenzuela. I'm just looking on Twitter now, and it looks like there is one photo of the victim out right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for you. And that apparently is the photo of Jessica Valenzuela. She was identified as the victim in the crash. I assume that is her with her husband. She was in Las Vegas with her husband, and apparently there is a crowdfunding page set up that says that she has 3 daughters. Moving on, Lindsey Graham has dropped out of the GOP presidential race, or rather suspended his campaign. He made the announcement on his website this morning in a YouTube video. I'm going to go ahead and play that YouTube video for you now, in case you haven't seen it. So give me a second while I pull it up for you. LindseyGraham.com. It is the only thing posted on LindseyGraham.com right now, the home page. I'll go ahead and play this for you. Lindsey Graham making his announcement.
Today, I'm suspending my campaign for president. I want to thank everyone who's taken this journey with me. You have honored me with your support. I believe we've run a campaign you can be proud of. We put forward bold and practical solutions to big problems, like retiring our debt and fixing a broken immigration system. This has been a problem solvers campaign. However, the centerpiece of my campaign has been securing our nation. I got into this race to put forward a plan to win a war we cannot afford to lose and to turn back the tide of isolationism that was rising in our party. I believe we made enormous progress in this effort. 4 months ago, at the very first debate, I said that any candidate who did not understand that we need more American troops on the ground in Iraq and Syria to defeat ISIL was not ready to be commander-in-chief. At that time, no one stepped forward to join me. Today, most of my fellow candidates have come to recognize this is what's needed to secure our homeland. I'm far more confident today that our party will reject the Obama doctrine of leading from behind and will provide the strong leadership America needs to restore our military and take the fight to our enemies and do what it takes to make our country safe and preserve our way of life. This is a generational struggle that demands a strategy and the will to win. I will continue to work every day to ensure that our party and our nation takes on this fight. I'm suspending my campaign, but never my commitment to achieving security through strength for the American people. God bless our fighting men and women, and God bless America.
All right, guys, we are going to step away from our top 5 stories and treat you all with a Jeff Moriarty Tech Talk appearance. It's been a while, Jeff.
It has been a while.
Typically, it's because we plan a Tech Talk and then crazy, dramatic breaking news happens.
Yep, I think the last time I was up here, we were discussing Y2K. Yeah, it's been a little while.
Right. Well, even now, we had Tech Talk scheduled for like 11:05, 11:10, and of course, the major story of the day, Las Vegas decides to bump you an hour because we have that Las Vegas press conference.
Yeah, it's been a running joke around here that when Tech Talk gets set up, and we've had some really good stories, but then I come up here and then all hell breaks loose.
Something bad is going to happen in the next 5 minutes.
Which makes me feel
I don't have
so good, to know that I am like the portent of doom. That was a heck of a bing.
I know. I want to talk about a couple of these stories you presented to me. The first one I just thought was such a great gimmick in and of itself. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's not even Throwback Thursday, but we'll make it Throwback Monday.
It is throwing way back. You want to pull up that link while I'm chatting? Yesterday was the 25th anniversary of the very first website.
Like ever.
Yeah, ever. So way back in the day, CERN put up the internet was developed as a communication system inside CERN, which is a government research, actually it's I want to say like educational research thing. And they developed this protocol for communicating over the network. Hypertext Transport Protocol, HTTP. Whenever you put HTTP,
that's what it means?
That's what it means.
Wow.
Yeah. So what that originally does, that HTTP says, oh, here's the type of communication that I want. I want you to send it to me via HTTP, and then here's the address of the file I want you to give me back, which is what the fox10phoenix.com, yada, 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 all is. So the very first page is this it's just text, right? I mean, the web speeds were just crazy slow. and it was only for a very tiny amount of systems. And and even they have to say the World Wide Web, W3, which nobody calls it anymore, right?
Did anyone ever call it W3? Even when I was younger, and the internet was, when we first started getting on it, when AOL sent all those discs and stuff in the dial-up days in the mid-90s, I don't remember anyone calling it W3, but maybe you were one of the early adopters in like 1991 or something.
Yeah. This had pretty much died out even by the time I started using
W3?
it. W3? Yeah. There's a lot of those terms. Like, what did they call social media before social media kind of set out? It was like new media or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, there's a clip I have online of doing some interview or doing some live thing where I was interviewing Rosie O'Donnell, and we were talking about Twitter, and instead of saying like tweeting back and forth, like, yeah, you're like just twittering back and forth. It was just like one of those things back in 2009 where it's like, oh, twittering, who would say that?
Exactly. Well, and then even the way you spell things, like it used to be capital E dash mail. It was like 2 words, right. And then it sort of, the dash disappeared. Then the people just got like lazier and just smunched it to like email.
Right. So true.
And it was just electronic messaging, and then people decided it was mail for a while, because this predates email. I mean, this was really all there was. Actually, I wonder, that may not actually be correct. I may have misspoke, because I think there was a mail, but it was only like on a system. You couldn't really communicate between systems to any big degree back then. So yeah, so this first page comes out, and it says, it's just basically instructions. Like, hey, do you want to use this thing? So, you can do mailing lists, and here's, you should check out the FAQ. I don't know. I am just starting. How do I find out more? How does www keep track of available servers? Can I get W3 documents if I'm not on the internet? These are like grandma questions. Like, wow. Can you send me CNN.com, please?
This is hilarious. It's an experiment started. Wow.
Yeah. And, this is all technical, right? I mean, it was a while before there was anything beyond just technical, crazy stuff on there and just walls of text.
So basic.
Yeah, I mean, there were almost no images. I think there might have been an image in here somewhere. But it was a while before they became prevalent because communication was so slow.
Bibliography. I haven't used that word since high school.
You gotta use a bibliography. Click it.
Oh, the bibliography. This is so...
Isn't this amazing? Well, because...
Weird. Do kids still have to, when they're writing essays, I wonder, do they still have to make the bibliography at the end?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to cite your sources. But, this is very much shows, back in the day, it was just taking what is in print and putting it online. So everything was the same. Here's your bibliography, here's your table of contents. I mean, old websites were just, they looked like books that someone had just digitized because people really hadn't started playing with it. And then look at all these names right here.
These are the people involved in the internet.
Yep.
Payway.
Where's Tim Berners-Lee?
I'm wondering if this individual had anything to do with the restaurant chain.
I don't think so. Although it was a good restaurant chain.
Right down the street. Great place to get soup.
Yeah, a lot of people here worked on the very early bits and pieces of it.
Of W3.
Of the good old W3, the WWW project. You can look them up in the phone book. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff. So 25 years.
Wow.
We've gone from this wall of bland text to things like streaming YouTube to News Now.
That's true.
To Snapchat.
I love Snapchat, as everyone knows. I'm obsessed. I went to a saloon yesterday.
A saloon or a salon?
A saloon, two O's.
Oh, okay, just checking.
It was pretty entertaining.
Where was the saloon?
Gold Field, is that the place?
Oh, okay.
The ghost town out
Yep.
by the Superstition Mountains.
That
it was quite an
is
adventure.
An interesting little tourist trap out there, yes.
Hey, you know what? I was blessed with some tourists visiting over the weekend, so Took them out there.
Yep.
It was very cool, though. I like
Nice.
gimmicks. Anyways,
So this was gimmicky. So we've gone from the W3 to Snapchat in 25 years. It's amazing to think in another 25 years where we'll be, because it's not just that we're changing. We're changing faster. Like every year, technology advances faster and faster. So
right. Moving on.
Moving
to
on.
Topic number 2.
yes,
Facebook Purity Tool. You need to explain this to me because it sounds like something very useful for me and all of our viewers out there.
especially lately.
Because I hate Facebook right now. Hate.
Google Facebook Purity. Yeah, in case anyone hasn't noticed on Facebook, it is slightly annoying out there. Politics, and it seems like the rage that everybody has. It's not just, hey, I want to talk about something. I just want to yell about it and complain.
Well, you know
and
what? I have to
bash.
deal with that enough during my day job as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to have to deal with it when I go on Facebook.
And as everyone knows, when Facebook makes a change, there's a lot of people who liked it better the other way. And as it gets more complicated, there's a lot of things that you might want to tweak or change about the way it operates. So Facebook Purity is a tool that actually lets you customize how Facebook works. And it's a plugin, so depending on which browser you use, you can go and install it off this site. It's free. He asks for donations. And it does some things like lets you know when you've been unfriended. Right?
Do you want to know that, though? That could hurt you emotionally.
Well, I mean, to me, it's just kind of interesting. I mean, sometimes I see someone unfriends me, and I kind of get why. But if it's somebody that surprises me, it'll also let you know if somebody kind of goes inactive. You know, people like disable their account for a while. It was kind of sad the other day. I had a few friends who died unexpectedly about 2 years ago, and all of a sudden it showed up that they'd unfriended me because their pages were turned into memorial pages, which I'd heard about, but I'd never actually known anyone where that had happened to them.
Right.
So suddenly I just sort of like, boop, here's these friends that I'd lost. I was just like, oh, geez, good morning to you, Jeff. Thanks a lot for that one.
Wow.
Yeah. But you can also take your feed, and if you don't like it in sort of top stories, permanently organize it in terms of newest stories. You can hide any of those components. You can just say, you know what, I don't want games. Whoop, games are gone. You don't want that ticker up in the box. Whoop, gone. Chat. Whoop, gone. That's my patented get rid of it on Facebook. Whoop. Alice wants to know, is it a Chrome extension? Yes, it does have a Chrome extension. I think it's out there for all the major browsers. The other thing that
it doesn't affect your Facebook app, though. This is just for desktop.
This is just for desktop, because what it does is it sits on top and it looks at the things that Facebook is giving you and tweaks them or hides them or rearranges them. Now, the feature that first brought this up is you can put in there Trump or Clinton or President or
election,
Star Wars or Force Awakens, and all of these things are going to disappear from your Facebook feed, and it can make it a lot nicer to try to read your feed and catch up with what's going on. And you can customize a ton of things.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you can make your feed wider.
So how do you put it, like your requests in? Is there a place? I mean, let's say I download it. Where do I go now to?
When you go to Facebook, you'll see a little FBP icon appear in the corner, and you just click it, and all of the options will pop up. It's almost like a menu that sits on top of Facebook.
Interesting.
Now, Facebook hates this tool. Absolutely hates it. A few times I've mentioned, oh yeah, well, since I've added a few filters, my feed is nice. What is this tool? I cannot share a link to this site. I think it's fbpurity.com. If you try to share a link to that on Facebook, Facebook will stop you and say, this is a forbidden link.
What if you shoot a video of yourself telling your viewers to go there, put the text on the screen, and then embed that video into your Facebook? Loophole.
Yes, you could Snapchat it and post your Snapchat. I mean, there's a lot of...
Yeah, or Instagram. Yeah, there's a way.
Yes, you could Instagram your Snapchat of your QR code that would take somebody there, but... If you try to share the link directly...
Do people use QR codes?
They do sometimes, not as much anymore, but they're in weird places like ketchup. Yeah, I was in a restaurant and there's a QR code on the back of ketchup. I'm like, I'm eating. There's nothing so interesting. I'm gonna, you know what? I want to know what this ketchup wants to say to me.
But
Where's my phone?
I actually think that
Click.
just because they have a QR code, you would be intrigued enough to want to know why the ketchup has a code to begin with, and then you actually would click.
No. It's a middle ground where it's interesting that it has it, but not so interesting. I'm gonna put down my burger and go follow that
I feel like I need to download FB Purity. It looks so fun. The problem is the only time I really go on Facebook is either on my phone, so I can't use it there, or here at work, and I don't think I can download it at work.
Yeah.
Or can I?
You can. So I have the opposite thing. I have it. I wish I had it on my phone. I don't use it at work because I need to see a lot of the news that goes by. But like when I'm at home, I don't want to see the election constantly or Star Wars, and it's like great movie, but okay, I like to see what else is going on. And it's just nice to clean that up, as well as a lot of the other layout things that I enjoy. So it really can make Facebook a lot more usable.
So that you just hate Facebook a little less.
A little less. I don't hate Facebook. It certainly keeps me employed.
That's true. You can't complain.
No, I can't.
Well, thanks for the Tech Talk update.
Thank you for having me up. It's fantastic being back up here.
I'm just so glad nothing terrible has happened yet. I will say, though, as a major news update, the friend of the San Bernardino shooter, Marquez, that's his last name, he is appearing in court.
Is he?
In the next 10 minutes, apparently, he is scheduled for 2:30 Eastern Time, which is 12:30 here. Not sure if we're going to get any video feeds related to that, but I'm just letting you guys know that if it happens, Mike Page will be delivering that to you. That's all.
Mike is in the house.
And he'll be joining you momentarily, guys. It's very exciting. In the meantime, Jeff is going to go get coffee, and I'm going to take you to the State Department hearing, and you will be seeing Mike Page momentarily.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, guys. Lots more news now ahead. And I know some of you guys have asked me about whether or not we are getting Donald Trump this evening. I know he is doing a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Fox National said we would have more information around 3 p.m. Eastern or so. So we'll know in the next hour or two whether we'll have Trump for you guys.
The man certainly gets around.
He does. All right. Let's listen in on the State Department. I didn't expect this. I thought all of the government was on vacation, but I guess that's only Josh Earnest.
Not even starting the talks with him being around. So are you saying that their position still remains as it was, or are they getting closer to your position, or do they accept, let's say, to have Assad in the process until such a time when we have, an agreement on transition? What is their position?
I cannot and will not speak for the Saudi government. Yes, they have. There have been public pronouncements of where they are, and I would point you to what they've said about Assad's future. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to characterize their position one way or another. That's for them to speak to. I can only speak for what we believe in our policy.
But isn't it? By now, doesn't it seem like foolhardy or ill-advised to keep insisting that Assad must go, rather than focusing on the primary fight, which is defeating ISIS?
They're tandem concerns. They're related. They're complementary, Saeed. It's from a military perspective, the focus in Syria is obviously on ISIL. The president's made it clear there's not going to be a military solution to the Syrian conflict. Secretary Kerry believes that firmly. But that doesn't mean that you don't pursue a political process to deal with the Assad regime and the political future of Syria. They are complementary. They are related. It will be easier to get a sustainable defeat of ISIL if you have in Syria a government which, by virtue of its own atrocity, is not providing a magnet for terrorists, and a government that is responsive and representative to the Syrian people. That is a healthy antidote to the terrorism of groups like ISIL. Likewise, you're not going to be able to get a sustainable, lasting defeat of ISIL if there isn't a responsive government in place to fill in the the void that ISIL's trying to fill right now through their brutality. So they're related. They're absolutely related efforts, and the Secretary's talked about this dual track, and we have to pursue both. That's why we are very engaged on the coalition side against ISIL, and we're very engaged on the diplomatic front, as we were in New York on Friday through the ISSG. But they are absolutely related efforts.
I just want to make sure I understand one thing. Nothing has changed. You still believe that there is a military solution to the ISIS?
Yes, there is a military line of effort.
So when you say the Syrian conflict has to, you're talking about
the civil
Assad.
war. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
I'm sorry. My last point. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said that we are where we need to be. We finally are where we need to be on ISIS. Is that now everybody's feeling in this building or across town and so on? Do you feel that we are where we need to be in the fight against
I would
ISIS?
just point you back to how Secretary Kerry has talked about the fight against ISIL, as well as the President of the United States. I won't address and speak to the comments made by people that are running for office here this year. But I can tell you that we've been very clear that in Iraq and in Syria, ISIL has suffered some significant setbacks. And they are nowhere near the organization they were a year and a half ago. That doesn't mean, and we've been openly and very candid about this, openly honest about it, that doesn't mean that they don't remain a threat. They do. They still have a presence in both countries. They still have territory that they are trying to govern in both countries. And they still try to metastasize outside Iraq and Syria. You probably heard comments made by Secretary Carter, who was visiting in the region not long ago, just last few days, about ISIL's aspirational efforts in Afghanistan. We've seen them try to get a toehold in North Africa. So this is a group that remains a threat, which is why the president has made a decision to intensify our efforts, particularly on the military line of effort, against ISIL.
Can we move on?
One more on Syria.
Sure.
Is there state concern about the possible ramifications of yesterday's airstrikes in Idlib, in that witnesses say these were Russian warplanes that carried out strikes that killed a significant number of civilians? If indeed Russia is responsible for these strikes, does this, in essence, muddy the waters as far as Russia's involvement in efforts to move forward on the political track in Syria?
I'm not. I don't have a great amount of fidelity on the results of these strikes. I just, as before, I'd point you to officials in Moscow to speak to their military efforts. I don't even speak to our military efforts. That said, we continue to see the vast majority of Russian airstrike activity to be against opposition groups and not against ISIL. The Secretary spoke to that very candidly on Friday as well. That remains a concern for us. We would love to see Russia take a more constructive role against ISIL, but we've seen no major change in their calculus to do so. We've also talked about from this podium our concerns about what certainly appears to be a lack of precision in their strike activity, and concerns that we have received from credible non-governmental organizations in particular about the things that they're hitting, and just as importantly, the things that they're not hitting. So I've seen press reports about this, not much more, Pam, but it doesn't change our concerns in general about Russian military activity in Syria, and the degree to which it is simply designed to bolster and prop up Assad rather than to go against terrorist organizations like ISIL.
I want to move on to Iran.
Okay.
This letter that Secretary Kerry sent to for Mr. Zarif, I guess over the weekend or Friday.
Yeah.
So the Iranians are concerned, apparently, that the legislation on the Hill, particularly the visa waiver legislation, will, well, they're not concerned. They say, one, that it violates the nuclear deal. I understand that's not your position, but I'm wondering if you share the concern that the Iranians have expressed about the changes to the visa waiver program in that it could affect or harm the ability of the Iranians to take advantage of the sanctions relief that they will be getting under the deal?
Certainly, the Secretary noted the concerns by Foreign Minister Zarif. You saw that he addressed that in his letter. You're right. There's no violation of the JCPOA or our commitments by dint of this new legislation. And the Secretary further made it clear that that we're going to implement this new legislation so as not to interfere with the legitimate business interests of Iran, such as in areas where the sanctions are going to be lifted when Iran has taken the key steps it needs to take to meet its own commitments under the JCPOA. I just want to, however, pivot to another point here on the visa waiver program. As we said before, we wanted to work with Congress, and we did, about getting this new legislation. And it is important to continue to look at the ways in which people come to the United States from all different walks of life, to make sure that we are, first and foremost, looking after the security and safety of the American people. There should be no reason why this new legislation interferes with the legitimate business interests of Iran. And again, that was a point that the Secretary made.
But the question is, when you say that you're going to implement the law in a way that it will not violate the JCPOA, does that mean you're not going to implement it? Because
No, it absolutely can be implemented.
How, I guess, is the question. How is it that you can implement the law and what Congress intends in this bill, which would affect dual citizen or people from visa waiver program countries who have gone for legitimate business to Iran? And I mean, if in fact they are no longer eligible for the waiver after they've done that, how do you make the argument to the Iranians that has not affected their ability to benefit from the sanctions relief, which they are, which you say that they're allowed to do under the terms of the agreement?
A couple of things. First, the law does not create a bar to traveling to the United States or obtaining a B1, B2 non-immigrant visa, a business visa. And our consular sections are going to be equipped to handle any potential increase in visa demand through that side of it. And number two, as the Secretary noted in his letter, we have a number of potential tools to ensure that the new legislation doesn't unduly interfere with the implementation of the JCPOA or legitimate business travel. It includes waiver authority for DHS, but it would be, as I said right now, a little too early to say if and when that authority might be used.
Right.
But there are a number of ways in which legitimate business travel to Iran can still occur.
Right, can still occur, but it will be significantly, all these people will have to get a visa, right? They will no longer be eligible for the visa waiver program, which adds how long? If you have to apply for a visa.
The average wait time, I'm told, for securing a visa appointment at all our visa waiver program posts is less than 10 days.
Right.
Although the majority have only a 1 or 2 day wait.
Right, but that's just to get an appointment.
Yeah, securing a visa appointment.
That doesn't get you that doesn't mean you get the visa in 10 days. That means that you have your interview, right?
Right.
And then there's a process after that.
Many posts already have in place procedures for expediting appointments for business travelers, and that's as noted on their websites.
Okay, but that's a difference of say, let's take the best case scenario, 10 days, right? Or average, whatever it is, maybe not best case. That still means that someone who is affected by this and is not able to hop on a plane and fly to JFK from wherever they are in Europe. They're going to have to wait 10 days. A lot of business can't wait 10 days.
Well, look, we have an obligation as well to look after the security and safety of the American people, and we're going to obey the law. But there are still ways for legitimate business travel to occur with Iran, and just as importantly, we're going to be, like we expect Iran, we will stay committed to our JCPOA commitments.
Okay. And just one other thing. Other legislation, can we expect the administration to oppose other legislation that would impact JCPOA?
I'm not in a position to know the answer to that. Obviously, we're not going to. well, let me back up, because I don't know what hypotheticals we'd be talking about, but obviously,
I don't know either, but there's a move afoot on the Hill to do all sorts of things Iran related. And if it's the administration's position that as long as the Iranians uphold their end of the deal, you're going to uphold your end of the deal, that would suggest to me that anything that you see as compromising the JCPOA, you would oppose on the Hill.
let me put it on a different spin on this. I'd say that we're going to meet, we have every intention of meeting all our commitments under the JCPOA. I mean, and that's not going to change. We will meet our JCPOA commitments.
Why was Iran included to begin with? I mean, could you remind us why it was included in this thing, in these countries, among this group of countries?
Why what?
Why was Iran included?
Because it's a state sponsor of terrorism.
Okay, but it is not in any way connected to ISIS and what's going on. I mean, we have not
It's
seen
a state sponsor of terrorism.
Okay.
It's still on that list, and that's why travel to Iran was included in this measure.
So you don't believe that this is maybe a back way to sort of nip at the Iran deal? Or,
No.
just scuttle the Iran
Well, we've
deal?
talked about this in the past. The Iran deal was about preventing their pathway to a nuclear weapon, period. And we've said from the very beginning that we have in place and we will continue to have in place unilateral and multilateral measures to deal with the other destabilizing activities that Iran remains capable of doing and is still doing. And one of those is state sponsorship of terrorist organizations. So that's the reason why it's on there. And like I said, we've said from the very beginning, we're not going to turn a blind eye to that. That said, with respect to the visa waiver program, there's no intention to use that program, to halt the legitimate business interests of Iran post implementation of the deal. This is about making sure that we meet our number one commitment, which is the safety and security of the American people, not that we try to undermine in any way our JCPOA commitments. As I told Matt, we're 100% committed to that, as we expect Iran to be moving forward. And that was the purpose for the Secretary's correspondence. Yes.
Iraq, John, on the situation in Bashika, the last Friday.
Yeah.
The last Friday, the President Obama made a phone call with Turkish President Erdogan on this issue again. And according to the readout, the U.S. side urged the Turkish side to withdraw its forces from Iraq. Do you have any update on this? The withdrawal is achieved over the weekend, according to your...
If what was achieved?
The withdrawal of the Turkish forces is achieved?
I don't have an update on Turkish military movements. I think, you should... I refer you to the Turkish government for specifics on that. What we have said is we're encouraged by the dialogue between the two countries, and we've seen the reports of Turkey's intent to withdraw. We welcome that because the third point I'd say, we've always made this clear, is that whatever military activity is going on inside Iraq needs to be done with the approval of the sovereign Iraqi government. And so our view is we want this worked out bilaterally between the two countries. We're encouraged by the dialogue that they've had and the progress they seem to have made. But I can't give you a up-to-date TikTok on exactly where Turkish troops are right now. I don't know.
Yeah, but the Iraqis brought this issue to UN Security Council also. It's not anymore a bilateral issue. So as a chairman of the council, I mean, this month, U.S., what's the U.S. position on this issue? Is there any time frame for the withdrawal, for example? Or, I mean, because the Iraqis are, it said that Foreign Minister Jafari, they will carry on the process until the full withdrawal is achieved.
I understand. And they have every right to pursue their sovereign ends the way they believe they need to pursue them. Our view is that we would prefer to see this worked out bilaterally. It appears that is what is happening, and we want to see that continue.
No, if there will be no withdrawal until a specific time, there will be a condemnation from the council, for example?
I'm not going to speculate about an action the council hasn't taken yet. And I don't speak for the UN. I know we're the president, but I speak for the State Department and for Secretary Kerry. Our view is we want this resolved bilaterally. They continue to have discussions and talk through this, and we think that's the right approach. But as exactly where Turkey's troops are right now, you'd have to talk to the Turkish government.
Yeah, last one on this. One of the arguments that the Turks raised on this issue, if the Turks will withdraw from the region, ISIL will be replacing the Turkish forces in the region. Is it a reasonable argument, you think? Can ISIS, for example, fulfill the gap in the region after the withdrawal?
As I understand it, and again, I'm not going to speak to Turkish military activities, but as I understand it, it's a training presence that they have there, and I don't know of any training mission that ISIL's taken on with respect to forces in northern Iraq. So I don't see how you can compare the two. But again, you'd have to talk to Turkey about what they're doing with their troops and on what time frame. We continue to want to see the sovereign integrity of Iraq respected, and for military activity inside Iraq to be done with the full approval of the Abadi government, as ours is. And we want these two countries to work this out between themselves. Again, they appear to be doing that, and we're encouraged by that. Okay? Yeah.
On China, do you know what was discussed in Secretary Kerry's call with Foreign Minister Wang Yi yesterday?
Yeah, they, hang on, I gotta get back here to it. So they did have a conversation yesterday to discuss a range of global and bilateral issues. They discussed, obviously, progress on the JCPOA implementation. Certainly they discussed the good work done on Friday at the UN when the foreign minister was there himself, and sort of next steps going forward now in the political process. They discussed security in the South China Sea, and of course, in broad terms, they discussed stability in the region.
Did they also discuss the landslide in Shenzhen?
That, as I understand it, happened after the discussion. So I don't think that was part of the discussion. But obviously, we're watching these reports closely, and our thoughts and prayers go out to all those affected by the landslide. But I don't think that was part of the discussion just because of timing. Okay. Huh? What? Okay.
The Chinese issued a statement and they said to secretaries, Secretary Kerry and Wang Yi, they discussed the U.S. the two B-50 bomber went into South China Sea. So how did Secretary Kerry explain this incident?
I'm not going to go into specific details. As I said, they did discuss tensions in the South China Sea across a whole range of issues, but I'm not going to go into any deeper detail.
And what's the response to the Chinese side ask the U.S. to respect China's core interest?
They routinely ask that, but what the focus of our conversation with the Chinese is and will continue to be about reducing tensions, particularly in the South China Sea, and to express our continued concern over the militarization of manufactured land features. As for freedom of navigation, again, I'm not going to go into any more details with respect to the flight that you referred to, as I wouldn't go into more detail in terms of the conversation, but we've made clear our concerns about these features, and we've also made clear that with respect to international law, we'll fly, sail, and operate our military assets where we need to. Okay?
This apparent Chinese offer to host a Syria meeting came up?
I don't know if that specific thing came up. We've just seen the press reports on that today.
And what do you think of it? Is Beijing an appropriate venue?
We would welcome any constructive efforts to continue to move the political process forward. We've just seen press reports on this, and I'm not in a position to confirm whether or not it's actually true. So it wouldn't be. I think it's too soon to characterize it or to make a judgment about it. Yeah.
A couple of questions on Turkey. The first one is, do you have any comments regarding Turkey-Israel
reconciliation talks, it looks like they had an initial agreement to normalize the relations.
We've seen reports of a potential agreement between Israel and Turkey to restore diplomatic relations. We would welcome this step in improving relations between two of our key allies in the region, and I'd refer you to officials in Israel and Turkey for more detail about it.
On Turkey-Russia question over Syria, it looks like the President Putin continues to issue threats to Turkey. Latest, as Russia banned Turkish jets within Syrian airspace. What's your view? It has been a month since the Turks shut down the Russian jets. Do you think steps need to be taken, or the escalation? Do you have any comments?
I haven't seen those latest remarks. What I would tell you is our position hasn't changed since the shoot-down, that we want to see the tensions reduced, obviously. And we, while certainly, like I said, we respect Turkey's right to protect its airspace. We want to see the tensions there, nonetheless, brought down between Turkey and Russia, and would, as we said before, urge both sides to work on deconfliction measures.
On the northern Syria, again, these 98 kilometers that has been talked about between the Jarablus and the Afrin. It looks like the Russians are now helping Syrian Kurds. There are reports that Syrian Kurds may start launch assault on ISIS places or the other Syrian opposition groups. Do you have any update on that particular area?
No, I would point you to Russian officials to talk to what they're doing militarily inside Syria. As I said earlier, we continue to see the bulk of their military activity be against opposition groups and not against ISIL. But in terms of whatever support they claim they're giving to Syrian Kurds, I think they would have to speak to that.
Do you have any issue with Syrian Kurds taking over that particular area instead of other Syrian opposition groups?
Instead of other Syrian opposition groups?
Yes, or Turkey's.
For us, the cooperation that we are giving to Syrian groups, be they Turkmen, Christian, Arab, or Kurds, is about continuing to degrade and destroy ISIL. It's ISIL's control over areas that we're focused on. And we want Syria, this is why there's a political process going on, we want all of Syria, a unified whole Syria, to be governed by a legitimate and a responsive and responsible government in Damascus. And that's not the case right now. That's why the Secretary is so focused on this diplomatic front. But our focus in terms of territory governance, it's to take it away from ISIL and then work politically to get a government in Damascus that can adequately, sufficiently govern it for all Syrians. Okay?
So Syrian Kurds can take over that place. You wouldn't have any issue with
I didn't
that.
say that at all, sir. I said our focus is on taking away the area and the territory that ISIL has inside Syria, so that as the political process moves forward, you have a government in Damascus that can govern and legislate for a whole unified Syria in Damascus.
On Turkey, this time Turkey's own southeast Kurdish region have seen increasing the situation is escalating within Turkey's own southeast region with the Kurdish region, such as Cizre or other places under the curfew. Do you have, or do you monitor
curfew?
the situation? Yes. Several towns under curfew right now.
Yeah, we've seen those reports. What I would say is we hope to see a renewed commitment to the political process by the Turkish government and the PKK to bring about a just and sustainable peace for all Turkish citizens. While we understand Turkey needs to take security measures, it should also take all feasible precautions to protect civilians and to act consistently with its legal obligations. And I'd refer you to Turkish authorities for more details about it.
The press freedom issue in Turkey, it looks like over 3 dozen or about 3 dozen journalists are still detained, and it looks like, especially in Kurdish areas, many of the Kurdish journalists recently have been detained. One of the Vice reporters have been in jail over, I think, about 3 months, over 3 months. Editor-in-chief of Cumhuriyet Daily and other newspapers, journalists are still in jail. Have you had a chance to talk to Turkish government recently?
We routinely express our concerns about freedom of expression and protection of journalism in Turkey, as I've said many times. We look to the government of Turkey to ensure that law enforcement and judicial authorities act in accordance with international legal standards, including full respect for due process and equal treatment under the law.
Can I go back to Iraq just for a second?
Sure.
Yesterday, or in fact, early this morning, the chief of staff of the Iraqi army, Uthman al-Ghanimi, said that they are preparing, it's imminent, that the liberation of Ramadi was imminent. He advised people to leave and so on. The Iraqi Air Force is driving leaflets for people to leave and so on. Do you know anything about this? Are we about to see a movement towards liberating Ramadi? And are the United States Special Forces involved in that in any way?
Well, you know how fond I am of talking about military activities. I would just tell you that, as we understand it, Iraqi security forces are making progress with respect to Ramadi. And I know that my colleagues at the Defense Department can speak to more detail about our assistance in that effort, but we do believe that they're making progress. I'd be loath to go into any more detail than that, and certainly I won't speak to the presence of Special Operations Forces one way or the other. That would be out of the purview for me to speak to.
But since they were deployed really after Ramadi, isn't it logical to expect that U.S. forces will be involved?
Again, that's
in giving advice and
that's a question for the Defense
leadership.
Department, Saeed. I simply won't talk about tactical
How about
military
diplomats?
issues.
Will they be involved? Diplomats.
Diplomats. As I understand it, the fight for Ramadi is very much a military effort right
gotcha.
now, and therefore,
Not even with a lightsaber.
Pam.
Are there any updates from state concerning the detention of Vietnamese human rights lawyer Nguyen Van Dai? And also, has there been any communication between state officials and your counterparts in Vietnam concerning his detention?
We are deeply concerned by the arrest of human rights advocate Nguyen Van Dai under National Security-related Article 88 of Vietnam's Penal Code. We urge Vietnam to ensure its laws and actions are consistent with its international obligations and commitments. And we call on the government to release unconditionally all prisoners of conscience. I was right in the middle. All prisoners of conscience, and allow all individuals in Vietnam to express their political views without fear of retribution. And I won't get into the specifics of our diplomatic discussions, but obviously we routinely raise our concerns in general, but also specifically on this case as well.
John.
Yeah, go on.
Another question, topic. Two questions. I need your comments. As far as India-Pakistan relations are concerned, I think there is a shift in the policy between the two countries. One, Indian Foreign Minister Sushma was in Pakistan, and now Prime Minister Modi will be visiting Pakistan next month. But at the same time, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif directed his government that nobody will speak any negative or hateful comments against India, and because they were making comments about destroying India, using nuclear weapons and all that, just like Iran was using against Israel. Any comments on this new policy from the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif himself, that not to use any hateful comments against India anymore?
I haven't seen those comments, Goyle, so I don't know that I'd be qualified to speak to it. But look, every leader every political leader has responsibilities now. I mean, especially ones that are, that are dealing here, with sensitive relations. You have a responsibility to preserve security and stability at the same time, as we just talked about with respect to Turkey and with respect to Vietnam. You also have a responsibility, we believe, to preserve freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So, without talking specifically to these comments, which I haven't seen, I would just say we continue to welcome efforts by India and Pakistan to work bilaterally to solve these very difficult, complicated issues. And so that they have started to do that and appear to be genuinely interested in fostering greater understanding between the two countries, that's welcome. And you know, we continue to encourage that. But as I said, there's always a balance to be struck here. And without having more detail about his comments or the context in which they were made, I'd really be loath to go further than that.
And second, it's important, I also need comments, and important to bring to your attention that at least one of the Pakistani was in San Bernardino, California, from Pakistan, one of the attackers. But now, for the first time, Nobel Prize winner Malala Yousaf, she opened her silent, because now she's 18. She's, I believe that's what the news report said, that she said in an interview that when she was 3, and other children in Pakistan from 3 and beyond, they radicalized.
All right, folks, we are making a switch here where there's breaking news out of Orlando, Florida at a SeaWorld where, well, these poor people are stuck on a ride right now. We are following breaking news. Fox 10, News Now. It's not the way these people wanted to spend their Monday afternoon here. They're probably thinking, boy, we not working out today. All right, folks, we are getting word from SeaWorld. They did issue a tweet saying, "We are working closely with Orange County Fire Rescue to quickly and safely remove all guests from the ride. We are in constant communication with the guests and team members on the ride. All passengers are safe right now. The safety of our guests and team members is SeaWorld's top priority. You can see people are waving to the helicopter there. They're probably all in good spirits, even though I bet they want to be down now and going about their day and not trapped on this amusement park ride. But there could be worse things going on. At least the ride isn't on fire or anything like that. So we'll see how they rescue these people here. Welcome, everybody that are watching on the stream here. This is Fox 10 News Now. Appreciate you guys all watching as we're covering breaking news right now. SeaWorld Orlando, a ride is stuck and people are trapped for the time being, but everybody is in good spirits there as they just want to be taken down safely. If you're familiar with SeaWorld, this is the Sky Tower amusement ride. Happening right now in Orlando. They've been stuck for the last 2 hours. You can see here the people just looking out the window saying, when will we be saved here? They've been trapped for the last 2 hours on the SeaWorld amusement ride, SeaWorld Orlando. Folks, this is a periscope from somebody that is stuck on this ride. You can see in the top right of your screen here.
Unfortunately, we're not exactly over the water.
As you can tell, people are really calm and talking loose here, but you can see as rescuers trying to figure out what's going on here.
I'm not sure what the hose is for. Oh, to keep it steady. That's what it is. Is that a hose? It's using an electrical line. They want to keep the cage away from the vehicle. What's that?
I think what would be the most annoying out of this is that little sound in the background. That's what would be annoying to me if I was
They're getting all strapped in. They're getting all strapped in.
Let me see the show.
You want to see the show?
Let me see the show.
Hey, be good, guys.
So
And you're getting frustrated.
sweet. Lindsay's making me laugh.
MJ, get over here.
Watch the flamingos over there.
Here. Over here.
Oh no, I can't see the big show.
Don't touch each other.
The show it is show. Stop it. Stop talking. Talking. You're annoying me. Okay.
You know what's funny? All these people are watching us. All these people sitting.
Charge. Stop. Here, you're not watching.
I'm watching.
All right, they got the two guys in the cage.
Woo. I'm just watching. I'm just watching the cage.
Don't.
Tôi là dạ tôi thay or like he touched me. He touched me. No, he didn't touch me. Oh, but the mommy stuff. The mommy did that. The mommy touched each other.
Oh, we got another announcer coming.
The mommy did that.
She need help or? The standard safety message. All right, here they come. They're coming up. Yeah, yeah. Hold this. I have to go talk to the lady.
Are you supposed to just hold it?
It's just filming that.
MJ, get over there.
At least these people will probably get their tickets refunded for the day.
MJ, Lindsay. Sit down.
For those that board to the right, it's all happening on to the side to the left here, so you can actually see it. The cage is actually coming up, and there's a maintenance guy and a EMT guy over there.
Rehabilitated more than 20,000 athletes over the past 50 years. Be inspired by the exciting real-life
Got a bunch of hearts.
rescue stories.
You got a bunch of hearts.
Mama died.
We share Sea Rescue this weekend.
He's 50 pounds now.
No, con la puerta, ¿cierto?
Yes, the AC is working.
¿Por dónde lo saca?
What? The plastic? Yeah. No, I think it's plexiglass. It should be okay. Yeah. Plus, they're holding them out. See the orange and the blue string or blue rope? They're holding it out, so it won't bang in. It'll be okay. Alright, you guys, lay down and rest. I know you're getting tired and silly. It's been a long time. Let's just chill out and rest.
Don't knock that.
We're on the bottom floor of the ride, I believe. MJ, lay down and close your eyes. Now. Encourage him. They're bringing supplies up with them. Now they're worried about being too close. Here, you want to see the fireman?
Yeah.
The guy in the yellow hat's a fireman. The guy in the red hat's a maintenance guy.
Let me see.
Thì cái tham gia này này kìa, chiếu vào mình này.
Take their picture.
Pictures.
How is the pictures taken?
Cho vào cái xe.
I don't think it's gonna stand it though.
Yeah.
Los mineros de Chile don't have like no battery.
Can I snip the snap? Snip, snap. Snip,
I wonder if people are Snapchatting this.
I need to snip. Actually, these will snip the next snap.
Come back over here.
Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your day at SeaWorld.
There's a cage going to the roof.
Enjoy the rest of it. Wow.
Pretty high up.
What?
Emergency brake locked up.
Stop.
Yep. I don't know if it happens often.
Two kids climbing on my head.
We are sucking it, yes.
Stop it, Joe.
For right now.
People's attitudes are
We boarded
really good
at
on this.
12:05. No, you can't see anything now. They're all on top. No, the air is still on. They're not going to evacuate. The maintenance guy is going to release the brake.
Stop it. Papa, you let me go now.
They're communicating more now. If we're hungry, we're in trouble. The noise is just passengers on board. I did. The vibrating of the phone.
Call her back.
The phone's vibrating. Orlando. About 50 people are stuck. And not jumping into the water, no.
He's on with the news. He's on with the news.
I'm famous, great.
Yeah, I don't know what that noise is. It's like a horn or some kind of thing. That
Apparently it's
keeps
on
going
CNN
off
now.
though.
And the guy who called me before was MSNBC.
Yeah,
There's about 25 people, 50 people on the ride, 25 on each level.
and my office mates are watching the news right now.
Oh, yeah?
They can see me. Like.
Yeah.
Orange County Fire Department, I believe. They will release the emergency brake and lower us down.
Make sure everybody's okay. I think somebody must have had a panic attack or something on the top story.
The emergency brake locked up. Everyone's fine. Yeah, hopefully nice and slow.
I don't want the battery to die.
Hello from Tampa. Nice to hear you.
Okay. Love you too. Bye.
The air conditioning is on. Someone's watching from Mexico.
Everybody's watching.
Well, there's not much to see right now. There's helicopters out there. SeaWorld in Orlando. We got Virginia, Georgia, Mexico, United Kingdom. All kinds of people watching here.
It's here. Okay.
And the Netherlands.
Yeah. Are you getting to?
Yeah, of course.
We boarded about 12:05.
Yeah. There's another one somewhere, guys.
Get yours.
That's what the map is. You have it? That's one he got. How did we go down to one map again? Mom called. You were on that ride at SeaWorld, are you? She had no idea. I was like, yeah, we're on it right now, as a matter of fact. There you go, baby.
Everyone's remaining calming. We're live on News 13 right now. There goes another announcement.
Oh, the fire is
right now. He's getting his supplies out of the cage, and in just a few moments, he will come down the stairs into the capsule to begin talking over with everyone and making sure everyone is okay. This will be the time for anyone that has any serious medical emergencies or issues that they need to step up and talk to the Orange County firefighters. If you are not in need of any medical assistance, we need you to remain seated so that he can assess individuals in an orderly fashion, please.
Well, that's good news. Apparently people are filming from down below as well.
Oh, somebody said they see this one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I don't know how long it was coming through.
Thankfully, they turned the Christmas song off. It was looping and looping on Winter Wonderland forever.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
They turned it back on before the announcements to turn the microphone on.
Let it snow.
Guys, I know it's MJ.
爸爸已经下去了。
Can you see your house?
爸爸已经要下去了。
No, I can't see my house.
我不要，我现在就要下去。我现在就要下去。
现在就要下去，要等一下，宝贝。
我现在我就要下去。现在我去。爸爸，爸爸，爸爸。
There's a maintenance guy on the roof and a Orange County firefighter on the roof coming in. The guy in the red hat will release the brake.
In just a moment, we will be cutting power to the ride. That is intentional. We are doing this so that we can give power for
Helicopter 什么那个。
restore power. So once again, the power outage that will take place in just a few moments. Everything is safe. We will restore power to you.
爸爸有一个披萨
Yep, there goes the air conditioning.
Please.
快没电了。
就没电吧？你说就没电吗？因为公司用来好黑就不会动。
Doesn't show signs of stopping yet.
Be following this story here for you. What we're going to do is just take the stream down until about 2:30, where Samia will come back for her afternoon show, but we'll have an update on this emerging story from SeaWorld in just a little bit. Hope everyone is having a great afternoon. I'll see you guys at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Have a great day, everybody.